Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is November 11th, 2025. It is a wonderful day. It's been a long year, been a lot going on, lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of fun. But you know what? Overall, we've achieved a lot together. The Midnight Summit is coming up here in 6 days. We're going to have it over in England, nearby London. Rented a lovely place for it. A lot of wonderful people are going to be there. And we're going to talk a bit about where we've been. So, the launch of Midnight. We're going to talk a little bit about how to get Midnight actually into market. It's a 4-stage launch, and each stage. And then we're going to talk a bit about all the partners that have come along with us and what Midnight is used for and how you guys can all be part of it. And then we have a dedicated day for partner showcases so people can show what they're building. So I'm really excited about that. It's like the birth of a second child. First child with Cardano, and the second child was Midnight. And it's super cool to be able to see something come to life. It's the fourth generation of cryptocurrencies, and I really do mean that. If you think about the generations, it's a nice logical ordering, and it helps you understand where's the market at, why did it get there, and what big problems are we trying to solve. Bitcoin's the OG of OGs. It's become digital gold, but really it was just trying to solve the movement of value in a decentralized way without middlemen getting involved. That was massive because throughout all of human history, we didn't have the ability to do that unless it was physical. In the digital world, it was not possible. And then we made it possible. And then when you look at Ethereum, it said, well, we want transactions to come alive and to be programmable. And transactions, they have assets, they have actors, so one to one to many to one, many to many. There's context behind why you're doing what you're doing. So the metadata of the transaction, there's including the location and all this other stuff. There's usually a contractual relationship between people. There's some understanding commercially of what was the purpose of the transaction, and they tend to be nested within a jurisdictions or jurisdictions. So there's regulatory schemas. You can't do that in a fixed function system. We knew that. Nick Szabo knew that. David Chaum knew that. All the OGs knew that. And so we created a smart contract and brought it to light. And that was awesome. It was like when JavaScript came to the web browser. And then you look at Cardano, and Cardano, the third generation, and the people who followed it said, this needs to work at scale with everything for everyone. And we also need to figure out how to upgrade the systems. We need governance. If you don't have upgradability, the systems, frankly speaking, they just won't work. So you need on-chain governance because the systems get exponentially more complex as you add more capabilities to them. And a centralized company can't manage a decentralized protocol. You need to have on-chain governance. So when we look to the fourth generation, we have these three new properties. You have this concept of rational privacy, selective disclosure, and idea of cooperative economics. You have to bridge TradFi and DeFi together and create Fi. You have to get everybody working together. So you can't have one token fighting another token. You have to have the ability to sort out what's private and what's public and who gets to know, who doesn't get to know, and you have to reintroduce some concept of identity into these systems because they're identity free. Because everything in life usually has an identity attached to it. Otherwise, how do you get access to your medical records or your academic records, or how do you get access to your tax return? These types of things. You need some notion of that inside the system that's beyond primitive. It needs to have selective disclosure capabilities. And we've been working real hard. How's my mic? We've been working real hard at trying to scale up and improve these things to a point where they're industrialized. And we can have millions of people use one system, come with whatever token they want, any network they want, whether it be legacy or DeFi, and basically be able to enjoy privacy and selective disclosure. And I think that's going to change the world. I think it's the last mile to actually get governments on a blockchain. I think it's the last mile to get all of the financial institutions on the blockchain. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but Midnight is the vanguard of all of that. And the way we launched it, if you look at the scavenger hunt, we're doing the calculations right now, but it looks like in 21 days, more compute has been expended on the scavenger hunt. If you extrapolate the growth of compute and where we're at, than the first few years of Bitcoin. And I'll have the exact numbers at the summit, but that's an extraordinary thing that in just a few weeks' time, it shows that there's more compute power thrown at midnight than the first few years of Bitcoin. That's just crazy when you think about it. The Glacier drop participation was huge. We got another wave of drops from Gate and from Kraken, so the customers there can get their tokens. I hope Coinbase wakes up. But it's cool to watch all that happen and have these different distribution mechanisms, and they also even have a remorseful redemption pool. It's nifty to watch that happen. It's the fairest, largest distribution ever done when you look at the numbers. Beats Arbitrum. And it's fair in that no VCs participated. Nobody got first access to this stuff. The right of first refusal went to you, the people. And that's how I've always lived my life. Crypto, in my view, is a retail phenomena. It's okay to see BlackRock come in and Goldman Sachs come in and all the other big guys come in, but I'm an old-fashioned person. I believe they should play by the same rules that you and I play in. Which is why I've always had some issues with asset-backed stablecoins, because they introduce a character who doesn't. I shouldn't have to ask a centralized company permission to deploy a decentralized product on my network. There should be an integration point, and it should be a software conversation. The fact that I have to go to a company and pay 8 or 9 figures and lay up a bunch of capital and negotiate company to company to make a deal to get something on my network, by its very construction, means that that's not decentralized. What's the point of all this as an ecosystem if we just hand the entire keys to the kingdom back to centralized actors? Honestly speaking, what's the difference between this and banks? It's just banks with a lot of extra steps and crypto in between, and a little bit of token appreciation bred for the masses with their meme coins. Doesn't make any sense to me. I signed up for a new financial stack, which is why I and Dan Larimer and Stan were the first to create the algorithmic stablecoin back in 2013 with BitShares before any of these things, and also the first DEX. And also Graphene was one of the first blockchain builder kits. And also there's delegated proof of stake there. That's how old the legacy goes, more than 12 years, because we just really cared about this concept of you being in the driver's seat and you controlling. Now, I can't solve every problem, but I think Midnight's a massive step forward, and it solves a lot of problems. It really creates a reality where you are in control of most of your data and most of your transactions. I'd like to see private stablecoins, especially algorithmic stablecoins, on Midnight. I'd like to see private DEXs on Midnight. I'd like to see a lot of this infrastructure built. And there's a ton of demand. As you see with the surge of Zcash, you see with the surge of Monero, people are starting to wake up that if they don't invest now in returning that capability to their day-to-day lives, it's going to be taken forever from them. So we as an industry, we have to do better. And I think we will do better. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and we have to keep the faith, and we have to keep pushing through. I looked a lot younger in those pictures. There's an interview with me when I was still the CEO of Ethereum, back when we were getting it ready to launch, and I'm wearing the shirt and everything, and this gal's interviewing me, and I looked at that, I said, holy hell, I don't recognize that person. He's so young. I've gotten a little older, a little fatter, a lot more white hair in the beard, but the passion's still there and the love is still there, and I really do care about what we do. And Cardano reflects that, and Midnight reflects that. We're one of the few chains that has the luxury of having our problems out in the public and open, as opposed to being behind closed doors where mommy and daddy will figure it out for the sake of the kids. You're treated like adults, and you're given the full story, and you're co-equal partners in the growth and evolution of these systems. And yes, it's hard, and yes, it takes time, and we have to figure out where we make moral compromises and where we don't. There's been a lot of disappointments this year. One of the biggest disappointments to me, I think, has been some of the actions of the Trump administration. As many as you know, I am conservative. I'm libertarian at my core. Campaigned for Ron Paul, and I campaigned for Rand Paul, and I've always fought for a small government, a humble foreign policy, and constitutional rights for all. And so that means that I don't particularly care about wedge issues like gay marriage or other things. I just want people to love who they want to love and live the life they want to live. Get the government out of your life. Take the substances you want, marry the people you want, as long as you're not harming anyone and as long as consent is involved. Obviously, kids can't consent, which is why certain issues bother the hell out of me, like gender reassignment for children, because it's not consensual and they're very easy to manipulate. And if parents aren't involved and states pass laws to take them out, that's fundamentally wrong. And it's very different than a standard LGBTQ issue, which is just normally an expression of one's love and desires. It's very different. It's a medical problem. So, for the most part, I stayed out of government, outside of just saying the whole damn thing is crooked and corrupt. Now, the Democrats declared war on my industry, and they did. If you're on the left and you can't acknowledge that, then you won't understand how we got here. Many of the prominent leaders were either put under investigation or some were thrown in jail. Every U.S. exchange was sued. There was a desire to destroy the entire DeFi market, debank all the entities, and gradually bleed them dry, and then find some charges to throw the leadership in jail. That's what was happening. Coinbase tried to come in and register, as Gary Gensler said, more than 20 times. They were ghosted every time and then sued at the back of all of it. We saw it again and again. We tried to pass laws. We said, okay, can we please pass some legislation so we can have some rules? And the mandate from top was, don't do it. The current laws are sufficient. Laws written in 1933 apparently are sufficient to regulate the cryptocurrency market of 2022 and 2023 and 2024. It's such an absurd thing. It's like using laws on horses to regulate cars, self-driving cars. It's an absurd, absurd thing. But that's where we were at. So Trump came in and he said, hey, we're going to change everything. And initially there was a great degree of optimism. The challenge for our market is that he launched Trump Coin and World Liberty and these other things. And the family has every right to do that. There's nothing stopping them, and there's nothing intrinsically illegal about it. But what it did is it made a bipartisan issue political. It created a reality where for the Democrats, crypto equals Trump equals bad. He could have just simply waited until the legislation was done to then enter the industry under the new rules, which would have been co-authored by both Democrats and Republicans. He didn't. And it created an environment that was very difficult. And there hasn't been, frankly speaking, a great degree of clarity floating around from the White House on the crypto market. For example, we have not made any progress on the DeFi question, on the blockchain disclosure question. We have not made meaningful progress on a lot of things that are very meaningful to all of you. Now, this is not for lack of trying. The Senate and the House have worked really hard, and they deserve a lot of credit for the enormous effort that they've put in to try to write some rules. And the SEC has turned a page, and I will agree that they've done amazing things in reversing the horrible decisions of Gary Gensler and ending the war on crypto. So I'm pretty happy about that, and I think that's a great thing. But the challenge is that just because we've gotten a brief reprieve does not translate to a long-term solution and long-term viability. The reality is, because crypto's now been so heavily politicized and associated with the Trump family, if the Democrats are ever to return to power in 2027 or in 2029, or both, there's a strong probability that we'll be exactly back to where we started, with subpoenas, lawsuits, criminalization, and a weaponization of the Justice Department. Some people will get pardons before that. Most will not. So we're left in a difficult situation where we have to find a path to bipartisanship in an increasingly partisan environment where people just refuse to talk to each other, listen to each other, or work with each other. Every single person in America is an American. So why do we hate half the country based on our political opinions and view them as subhuman, the other irredeemably bad, and have a belief they're horrible human beings? I understand rivalries and teams. I'm a Broncos fan. When KC plays the Broncos, we have good, all in good fun comments about that. But at the end of the day, I don't view a KC fan as a subhuman person or rob them of their dignity. And I don't believe KC fans believe that of Broncos fans. Because we have different politics doesn't mean we're evil people. And I don't think we've ever crossed that line, except for certain cases where we do have a belief of genuine harm. If children are being manipulated and harmed, that's a problem. And we have to speak up. The same with any other group where there's actual physical harm being done to them. Then there's an issue here, and we have to call it out. The vast majority of people, regardless of where their politics sit, are utterly unaware of what the U.S. government does. And traditionally, when you want to fix that problem, what you do is you shut it down and you start over. Usually, historically, how that's happened is you get conquered. Look at Spain. It used to be the big empire. And then it went through a multi-century decline and decay. And then they got conquered by the French. And when Napoleon's people marched in, they were horrified to find that the Spanish Inquisition was still running in the 19th century. Think about that. That long-standing medieval relic, because of the bureaucracy was entrenched and the decisions were entrenched. We're not going to get conquered externally, which means that the system endures and persists, but it gets more bureaucratic, less accountable, less transparent, more opaque. A real revolution is not electing a strong man and saying, well, now we have this savior and he's just going to make everything better. A real revolution is focusing on new systems, new processes, new procedures, and migrating people over to them, which is why I've always been a fan of blockchain technology. When I look at it, it just makes sense to me. And the parameterization of a blockchain, you can define an economic, political, and social system any way you want. You could build these systems in a way where they're fraud-free and corruption-free, because you can have a situation where it's transparent to everyone, it's auditable to everyone, it's immutable so nobody can change the records retroactively, and also we can finally see where the money goes and who it goes to and why those decisions were made. Paired with AI, we have a governance utopia that could come. I'd like somebody to be in the driver's seat who has the ability to implement this, who has the vision for this. We can't trust Silicon Valley because they're accountable to no one, and they have become so narcissistic that they literally want to make themselves gods. If you really look at the core of Mark Andreessen and Peter Thiel and these other people, they want to use technology to become immortal, and they want to become a different species than Homo sapiens, and they look down on the rest. You see it in books like Homo Deus. You see it in a lot of the writings that they have, the techno-utopianism that they do, or the worship of the singularity, which effectively is a god. You can't trust people like that, because regardless if they have good ideas or not, because they view themselves as superior to everyone else, they will build a system to perpetuate that viewpoint. You have to build a system that's egalitarian at its core, which has been my life's work. I don't particularly care if I end up broke or in jail. I don't particularly care if I end up one of the world's richest men. It's never mattered to me. I lived in an apartment. You guys saw me do these AMAs. I had giraffes behind me, little stuffed giraffes. And I had just as much, if not more fun than I have here in my current situation. And if I lost it all, it wouldn't matter. Because at the end of the day, I'm here to do a job. And that job is to get this technology into your hands, teach you how to use it, and make sure it works well. And then try to get that technology to rebuild and rewrite the fabric of society. Because I don't want to live in a world of endless cynicism, corruption, a world of subjective truth, and a world of chaos with no rule of law. I want to live in a world of enlightenment, rationality, and a world of constitutional protections. I've always wanted that throughout my entire life. And I don't particularly care about the money. You know, I was just talking to my mom the other day, and she said, why are there so many people on food stamps? You know, all these lazy people on food stamps. And I said, Mom, here's the problem. Your money's worthless. I asked her, you know, that house we bought in Hawaii when we lived there, how much was that house? She said, oh, about 150,000. That house today was $1 million. That's the real estate value. And I say, okay, it's about 7 times more expensive than when you bought it. Tell me, have wages gone up a 7x? I said, that car we drove, that Nissan Axis, back in the 90s, how much did that cost? Oh, we bought it used for about $3,000. That same car, used, upgrading for make and model, modern thing, would be about $25,000. So tell me, have wages gone up 8x? No. The money's broken. Every year we print more, and every year your buying power goes down. Your shopping cart gets fewer and fewer items in it. That's why so many people are on food stamps. It's not socialism to solve the fucking problem, Mdami. Stop destroying the quality of money. It's another reason why Bitcoin's where it's at. It's another reason why the cryptocurrency space is where it's at. People who actually understand central banking and understand inflationary monetary policy understand it's a rigged game for the rich against the poor, and it always results in monetary collapse. We have created a system that worships consumption over saving. And the minute you do that, what ends up happening is the system will collapse. And we're in the end stages of it, which is why Trump is throwing his tariffs, and they just lie. He says he's going to use the surplus of his $2,000 giveaway for tariffs to go pay down the national debt. Then he proposes budgets, as do the Democrats, with structural multi-trillion-dollar deficits. And then when people like Thomas Massie and Rand Paul and others come up and they say, this is going to bankrupt us, they go burn their political careers down. There's no honesty in that. There's no sacrifice in that. How can all of us be expected to scale our lifestyle down, but the other guys are expected to grow 11% per year? How is that possible? Every company, when times are tight, has to go through a cost reduction, but the government never does. And there's no accountability to outcomes and no incentives to care about your problems. It's an insane thing. Just thinking about executive compensation, if we paid the president of the United States to get direct foreign investment for the United States, I'd be prepared to give him 2%. If Trump went around the whole world, got $10 trillion of FDI into the United States, and it's provable, and it pans out, I would cut him a check tomorrow for $200 billion, because that's good for all of us, and that's what we do in the private industry. But in the public sector, we just like to pretend that everybody should be paid the same and be virtuous. And then we get surprised when Nancy Pelosi gets $170 million in insider trading. And we get surprised with Kelly Loeffler and all these other problems. Which is, oh, surprise Pikachu face that people did what they did. That's why we need a new system. We need new money. We need blockchain in the background. And we need a reset of objective reality. Then we need an airing of grievances. They had to do it in Rwanda. We have to do it in America. We have to bring everybody together. We have to just talk about it and have a national conversation why we all hate each other and why we've gone so far. And we have to have a reset. And then we have to change the way the political class works. It's going to take some time, but I'm still young. You're still young. We got the time, and it's a challenge of our time. If we don't, we're headed for a collapse and civil war. So, is what it is. Okay, so those are just my thoughts on Veterans Day. It's a reflective day. Happy Veterans Day, everybody. You know, people who served this nation, they had to fight for something, right? All right, let's go ahead and talk about it. The K-Framework EVM finally shipped. Any update you plan to spoke about to use it? So there's a long and storied history about the K-EVM and actually K-Framework in general. So for those of you who don't know, years and years and years ago, I met a professor named Grigory Roshu. And he's a brilliant man. He's very talented. And he had this dream of creating a meta-programming language called K. And the purpose of K was to define the semantics of normal programming languages. So you don't write programs in K, but you define things in K. So you write the semantics of C, or the semantics of JavaScript, or the semantics of Java. The semantics are the rules of a programming language. So it's kind of like the grammar of it. So when you look at English, like how do you put words together? Subject, verb, object, and how does that fit together? It doesn't sound right. You sound like Yoda if you do things wrong. Well, similarly with a programming language, you're like, well, what do those brackets mean? Or what do those parentheses mean? Or how do I define a function? Or these types of things. Well, it turns out that there's a very precise mathematical way to do that. And there's different notations to describe that, like small step semantics and notational semantics and these types of things. So K is a language to write languages. Now, Grigory wanted to create a universal meta language, and the idea is that we then could build a virtual machine based on that. And then the hope is that if you have K semantics of one language and K semantics of another language, you could automatically convert from one to the other through a process called semantics-based compilation. Now, here's why that's relevant for the cryptocurrency space. You have a C programmer and a Rust programmer and a JavaScript programmer and a Java programmer and a Python programmer, and they spend years mastering their craft. And then they want to enter the cryptocurrency space. And they say, hey, cryptocurrency, what language do I use? Can I program in Python? And we're like, no. You have to use this fruity, weird language over here and learn all this new stuff. And they say, but I've invested 10 years into this other thing. So it would be real nice if they could just write a Python smart contract. It'd be real nice if they could write a C smart contract. So the hope for K was that we could go and one time for a version of a language, write the semantics, register them on chain. They could write a program in their language, and then it automatically would translate and run on our infrastructure. So we invested very heavily, more than $19 million, building out a new K framework and a new virtual machine called Yella, which was a variant of LLVM. It was a competitor to the EVM, was partially compatible. I think in Vitalik's language like type 2 or type 3. Okay, and then the idea was that you would register semantics for various languages, and we just write them out, and it's a one-time write. And whenever you have a new language, you can just write it and register it, and then the SBC would automatically convert it and run it. So we explored this roadmap for several years. We actually came back to it twice. We called it the island, the ocean, and the pond. That was the ocean side of the strategy. So why didn't we end up integrating it? Well, the primary reason was we could never find a way to complete semantics-based compilation, so you couldn't get perfect program translation, and also it was too slow, often 100 times to 1,000 times too slow. And we could never find a way to accelerate and optimize that. So for special classes of programs like proofs, it may actually work really well. But for general purpose programs, it doesn't. So we put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, and it was a lot of fun. The team was based at a University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. They wrote a lot of papers. We learned a lot. It's called reachability logic, and it was a tour de force of intellectualism. And actually in the original designs of Cardano, if you're very clever, you'll notice we wrote a paper called Chimeric Ledgers. And it permitted to have a UTXO system and an account system on the same ledger. And the intention was to have Marlow be the default programming language of the UTXO system. It's Turing incomplete, and everything would be almost like a total function, so you use a SAT solver for it. And you have Yella on the account side of the system, and it'd have a general purpose account system. When it became clear it wasn't going to work, we had to accelerate a full Turing complete programming language and build it out. So we extended UTXO to extended UTXO, and the rest is history. The challenge was that all those investments in Yella, had they been done in Plutus, it would have meant that in 2021 we would have had a much smoother contract, smart contract side of the house. In hindsight, could we have done it differently? Yeah, we could have bet big on Risk 5 and pushed a little bit more aggressively into some of the zero-knowledge techniques and the outsourceable computation techniques that we see today. And we probably should have written the whole thing in Scala. The only reason we didn't was that Scala 3 wasn't out at the time. And we kept waiting and waiting. We talked to Martin Odersky and his people, and we said, Martin, when's this coming out? And unfortunately, it was several years late. And had Scala 3 been out, we would have used that, and we probably would have used an account-based model. Yeah, I know. And in any R&D project, you always have a collection of, failed attempts or things that didn't quite work out. Ben Cohen still feels December will be the end of this bull run, hence no alt season. Well, he's fucking stupid. I mean, we haven't even passed the Clarity Act yet. Once that passes, it's going to bring a lot of money into the industry. And also, typically, you have a big buildup of Bitcoin. And then when Bitcoin reaches a ceiling, then the value starts leaking into the altcoins. So we're only about halfway through the cycle. We're not falling apart. Why the disregard for established stablecoins? Well, I keep explaining it again and again. Two things can be true at the same time. If Cardano is a full decentralized permissionless system, there can be no barrier to any stablecoin deploying if they so choose. And I don't oppose Circle, Tether, or others coming to, and there's an inevitability that someone will come of that ilk to our chain. And at the same time, I philosophically can disagree with the existence of these things, given the fact that all your transactions are tracked, they can be frozen at any time, and they have a centralized issuer who completely controls the distribution and market of it. That's not a cryptocurrency. So they both can be true at the same time. You guys keep pushing this lie that Charles Hoskinson stops these people from coming. I can't stop anyone from building on Cardano. I can't. It's an open permissionless system. Everybody can build on these things. And the entities responsible for negotiating and bringing these people into Cardano, the primary entity is the Cardano Foundation. They've had 4+ years and a huge amount of money to allocate to figure this out, and they haven't done it. If somebody comes to me and says, I need technology X, Y, and Z on Cardano to facilitate this integration, we just add it to the roadmap and go and build it so that integration can be done. But we're not going to go and input-output and pay out of our pocket 20, 30, 40, 50, $60 million and mint $100 million of a stable coin when there's an entity literally given 600 million ADA to go and do that. Don't go to me, go to them. Or take the ADA back and give me some of that ADA to go and negotiate the deal. Those are your two options. Honestly, I have a distaste for stable coins that are centrally issued. Again, because everything is tracked, it can be frozen at any time for any reason, and there's a central issuer, which means if they go out of business, the peg breaks and the stable coins become worthless. That is fundamentally incompatible with what cryptocurrencies exist for. It's an over-glorified bank ledger with extra steps. People love them because they're economically efficient and they hold their value. As long as you believe in the issuer and as long as you believe in the regulatory schema that the issuer lives in. That's where we're at. That's why we created JED. It's why we look at algorithmic stablecoins. And yeah, it's hard, but it's honest because your tokens can't be frozen. Are you getting it yet? Same question. It's the same question for 4 years. You guys keep asking, like, when is it going to be different? I keep telling you, it's not going to be different. And all of you people going to the Cardano Foundation Summit in Berlin, you should hold up your hand and say, hey, where's Circle at? And when are you guys going to get that done? And are you prepared to put $100 million on the table to make that happen? And they'll say, no. Just like our structure prevents us from. Why don't you change your structure? Why is there no community representation on the board? Our structure prevents us from doing that. Why don't you donate the money to a new foundation with a different governance structure? Can't you donate money? Your structure prevents you from giving donations to another Cardano foundation in a different jurisdiction with a different leadership structure. This is how they lie again and again and again and again, and change the topic, change the subject. And no amount of birthday wishes change that fundamental reality of the structure is poisoned. I did not set it up. Michael Parsons did. I tried to change it. We were pushed off the board. Yes, we were pushed off the board. We were given a choice of either it goes into a receivership and the Swiss government totally controls it, or mutually pick a board of Swiss people with the Swiss people that you tried to fire. That's how we ended up here, okay? You can change your language, but you can't change reality. That's what happened. And that's why Cardano fell behind with integrations. Midnight's fixing the vast majority of it. We're getting oracles from it. We're going to get all kinds of bridges from it. And yes, we will get stablecoins from it because the Midnight Foundation feels accountable to and has a strong desire to get yield. They're going to be sitting on a lot of Night token, and they would like to create DeFi yield for it. That alone means they need bridges, oracles, and stables. You say, when Chainlink? Well, if it's truly a decentralized network, we don't have to talk to Sergey to integrate it through a supported network using a bridge. And that's what we're looking into right now. I have a team doing a prototype because it's insane to go and ask them to write native smart contracts when we can just use a trustless bridge and proofs and trusted execution environments to ferry the information over. So we'll just go do that and make the SDK and the API the same. The interface is the same, and you pay and link. So yeah, it's a decentralized system. Thank you. So we can go and do that. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong believes there's a real chance that the Clarity Act will be passed before the end of November, but the U.S. government shutdown is currently, well, the shutdown's going to end very soon. As for the passage, when we talked to the Senate Ag, they released a version. There's still some issues and umbrage, especially on the left, about the DeFi treatment and whether they try to solve it in the bill or they push it to rulemaking. We've been pushing very aggressively for rulemaking because it'll make the process a lot easier. And also gives us the time to properly discuss it, like 2 to 3 years as opposed to like a month. Worst case scenario, if it can't get done in November, it'll get done in the Q1 of 2026 if the Democrats are willing to support it. There needs to be 60 votes for it to pass. The Republicans will all vote for it. So we need about 5 to 6 Democrat votes on that because we already have 2, I think, out of the 53. So yeah, there's a path, but, horse trading has to happen, and they're in the horse trading stage. And this is another thing. See, Fred wish you a birthday. I think you guys need to get in a room. We spent 3 years in a room. There was nothing but dishonesty, duplicity, lies, and manipulation and backbiting. We talked to them about Intersect. They go in fun and create Pragma behind our back. We talked to them about the Linux Foundation for a members-based organization. They construct a structure where input-output's not allowed to join. We talked about the Cardano Constitution. At the Constitution, they tweet they can't support it and then have to walk it back. We asked them to do the right thing with ADA vouchers and tell the world that they know we didn't steal the money. They say nothing. They say it was self-inflicted. Then eventually they produce an asinine statement and then move on, try to sweep it under the rug. At the core of all of it is their governance structure. The executives are rotten and the board has no incentive to do anything. What will fix this is if the board is community elected, because people will run on a campaign to use the money at the foundation to build up Cardano and solve Cardano's problems. When those people are elected, if the executives can't do it, the board will fire the executives. So the whole culture changes. So all I asked for is let the community run elections to control the foundation. And you'll get diversity of thought, accountability, and real KPIs for the ecosystem. What is me sitting in a room with people who are completely unaccountable, have lied for 3 years, and step by step, every step of the way, have done things to harm us, going to solve? What more revelation and insight am I going to get? This is not a Charles Hoskinson hates the foundation issue. This is the foundation is accountable to KPIs in the ecosystem. They've never defined them, and they've never built an oversight structure capable of holding them accountable to achieve them. It's just that simple. You will never get a change in governance. You will never get accountability unless people put on the ground, these are the KPIs. This is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. The current board cannot do that. They have personal liability in the structure, so they'll never take a risk. They have no incentive for achieving the KPIs, nor do any of the rank and file at the organization. And they're an incredibly conservative jurisdiction and a fast-moving industry. So how will that succeed? It's the wrong structure. It's the wrong governance structure. It's the wrong leadership team. Move it to a new jurisdiction, put a community elected board in, put some checks and balances if you want, get a set of objective KPIs for the ecosystem, and publish an annual roadmap for how to achieve those KPIs. And if they don't achieve them, the board fires the executives. If they do achieve them, the board awards the executives upside. Give them $1 million bonus. Give them a $5 million bonus. I do this all the time in my business. I say, guys, if Midnight does this, if this thing does this, if this thing does this, you get X, Y, and Z upside. Then they wake up every day and they say, how do I get there? Because I want wife-changing money. It's pretty simple, right? You don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist for this. It's about governance. It's about structure. It's about incentives. It's not about personalities. There's no friends and personalities in business and in politics. There's interests and incentives. We can be friendly and pleasant until the cows come home and love each other, go drinking every day. Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg are a great example of that. Politically, they couldn't be further apart. They would go hang out together and go to India together and do cool stuff together. They're friends because they could separate the personal relationships from the professional relationships. And the institution of the foundation's job is to promote and grow and get Cardano to the next level. Just that simple. But they didn't even define what next level means in a way that the industry as a whole can understand. And if they really want to, there's 9 different agencies that provide information in the cryptocurrency space, like the DeFi llamas and the Masaris and so forth. Go talk to them about KPIs that the industry as a whole accepts. Go talk to AT16Z. Go talk to Draper. Go talk to ARK. Go talk to Pantera. Come up with a consolidated set of the top 10 KPIs of the ecosystem. Create a dashboard. Publish it. Allow everybody to see it. And say, this is our 2026 strategy. And here's what we think we can do. Here's what we can do unilaterally. Here's what we need to do with the Treasury. Here's what we need to do with you. The very existence of the summit is a phenomenal idea, a phenomenal example of this idea. So what's a better bang for our buck? A $6 million vanity party in Berlin where you just go and you have your award ceremony and all these people come in and they wear their nice little tuxedos and have a good dinner and this stuff. Or going to the top 4 events, one a quarter in different geographies with more than 20,000 people attending in the general industry and bringing the Cardano ecosystem there and having a strong booth, taking over the events, having an investor party, and having an after party. Which one gets us a bigger bang for a buck? Obviously, it's the latter. It's the same price if you think about it. If you do it right. But there's no KPIs to hold you accountable. What post-growth did you have? And where's the call to action for these types of things? It's a leadership issue, and it's an incentives issue, and it's an oversight issue. Solve that, then we're friends. I don't give a fuck what they said. I don't give a fuck that they have these little parties and they talk about how bad Charles is and how dishonest he is and Laura Shin was right and all these other things. Good for them. Doesn't matter. It's business. And at the end of the day, are you earning? Are you growing? Are you building? Are you doing your fucking job? Some of my harshest critics are some of my closest relationships in this industry. Sebastian is the CTO of the Midnight Foundation. He has a long track record of being openly critical of decisions input output is made in decisions I've personally made. We're friends because we're united in a common mission and we have common goals and common incentives to achieve those goals. It's okay to disagree, but you have to unite on the mission, the vision, and the KPIs. That's leadership. And then you have to rally people behind it and come up with a collective strategy that people believe in, that they actually think is going to achieve something, and move forward with it. It's why they haven't been able to get anything done, because there's no one there incentivized to take a risk. There's no vision. There's no mission. It's more about self-perpetuation of the institution. How do I become a Midnight Ambassador? We will have a sign-up list. So we had our first wave of ambassadors who were on the DevX side. The next wave of ambassadors are going to be on the community side. I want to recruit 500 ambassadors next year, 500. And I want to pay them a night, and I want 20% of their remuneration, force them to go put it into Midnight DeFi. Every ambassador should know how to use a wallet, know how to use Midnight DeFi, know the ecosystem end-to-end, go through some training courses to understand the USPs of the ecosystem, and be easy to access and be very excited. And we have to answer the question, what does it mean to be a Midnight Ambassador? What does it mean to be a Midnight community member? It's different than a Cardano community member because Midnight welcomed people from 8 different ecosystems. We got Ethereum people, and we got Cardano people, and we got Solana people, and it has a different technological direction than Cardano. It does different things. The whole concept of cooperative economics makes Midnight like Switzerland. And it's a neutral place, and it welcomes everybody. So there's got to be something different about Midnight. So the culture of Midnight is really going to be built up and defined by the Midnight Ambassadorship. And it's going to bring a lot of new people in, a lot of new blood in, a lot of people that aren't from the Cardano ecosystem in. So I want a diverse ambassadorship. That said, there's a lot of people in Cardano land who really are excited about Midnight. I want them too. And I think 500 is a good starting point. Maybe we can get bigger, but it's going to be expensive. And that's okay. We have to bring that in because the goal is to grow Midnight. You know, I want a TVL over $1 billion by the end of 2026. I want tons of transaction volume. I want hundreds of thousands of monthly active users in Midnight DeFi. And I want a ton of cross-chain transactions. I want transactions from Ethereum and Solana and from Bitcoin and from Cardano. And we just keep talking about how are we going to get there. And there's KPIs at the Midnight Foundation connected to those outcomes. They don't get paid unless they achieve those outcomes. Alignment incentives. They come together. So we'll get it done. Hey, Charles, I'm a German mathematician. Well, those are the best kind. Come on, Gauss. You answered my questions about your whiskey and solar equipment. What skills, programming languages, etc., are necessary to work in your Midnight project? The language compact is very close to TypeScript. But if you are a German mathematician, my recommendation is to read the Magic Moon Math Manual. Seba's working on his own training course that uses algebraic geometry to explain these things. But start with the Magic Moon Math Manual. and it teaches you about Groth 16, and it teaches you about R1CS. It's not the same as Midnight, but it puts you in the neighborhood of the thing. The design of Midnight's core of its privacy system is Plonk and Halo 2. There are 7 parts to a ZK stack. So at the very highest level, you have your setup. It's trusted or untrusted, so it's a transparent or trusted setup. The next level down, you have your languages. So the programming language you use to write the circuits. So they're either circuit-specific languages or they're general-purpose programming languages. So like Cairo and Noir versus Compact, for example. Then you run a component of the whole thing on your personal computer. That's called witness generation. Then you have your arithmetization. So basically, you convert the program that you've compiled, the on-chain part of it, to a mathematical representation, usually some polynomial representation. And there's different arithmetization systems, R1CS, AIR, or Plonk. And you even have a customizable constraint system, which is an extension of R1CS. And then that mathematical language translates the zero-knowledge program into solving a mathematical problem. Then you have the actual proof engine that solves that problem. So in this case for Midnight, it's Halo 2, soon to be Nightstream. And then you have underneath that the cryptographic infrastructure that permits all this stuff. So what are you using? Lattices or hashes or elliptic curves. And then you have the actual blockchain infrastructure. Now, in the proof engine and in the blockchain infrastructure component, you also can have either a direct representation that runs on a script-by-script basis or a virtual machine that runs. And that's where those ZK VMs basically are. So that's a 7-layer stack. And if you want to learn about that, the best thing to do is start with the simplest and first stack, Groth 16 and R1CS. And then after you get comfortable with it, you can move to Plonk into Halo 2. And then you can get an understanding of how those components go together. The pedagogy we as an industry need to do a better job at, and it would be nice to see a Magic Moon Math manual for Midnight. We will get there, and we will find the right people to do that in 2026. How would a new founder fit into the Midnight ecosystem? Is there a place for new crypto projects to grow? Absolutely, because you can deploy into any blockchain. Midnight's dream is to be a layer 2 to everyone. So you can deploy into Ethereum, you can deploy into Solana, you can deploy into Cardano. Really, the core of Midnight is you start with your regulatory logic, your user identity logic, and your privacy logic. Then Midnight is also going to build a best-in-class intents layer. So you can talk about user intentions. What do the users want to do? Once you have that whole stack built, then you deploy into the networks where you think your customers are going to live and your liquidity is going to be. You can deploy into Ethereum and get their liquidity, or Solana, or to Cardano. You see, and Midnight acts as that regulating layer, and it gives a strong math-based guarantee that the intentions, the user privacy schemas, the identity schemas, and the business logic will not be violated. And it's built to scale like fucking crazy because we're building a layer 2 and layer 1 of Midnight at the same time. So there's a beautiful roadmap for that whole thing. And we have these concepts like capacity exchanges and hybrid applications. And we're already exploring multi-chain signatures and intents and these types of things. So it's a beautiful roadmap. It's a beautiful ecosystem. There's a lot going on there. So then there's a question of resources. The Midnight Foundation setting up the Midnight Ecosystem Group, and they already got one guy from Outlier Ventures who's quite good. And they're going to have a really strong game of white glove DevX, so help you build your thing. And they've started with the hackathons, and they're working their way to actually dedicated assistance, to incubation acceleration support, to actual Series A investment, co-investment with name brands. This is something we should have done in Cardano. The two entities, they didn't do it, Emergo and the CF. We tried with the C Fund. I wasn't particularly good at it. And Wave didn't do a particularly good job. They maximized my returns at the expense of others, which is what they're supposed to do, but it's not good for an ecosystem fund because there's a conflict of interest there. So we have a way of resetting that with Midnight, and there's some really good people there. And these are long-term consequences of a lie. It's already been answered. It's already been addressed. The audit report is out. This is just a straight up lie. But this person, either a bot or a misguided person, but for the rest of his life will propagate a conspiracy theory. Every single time I tweet, there's at least one bot or person who tweets on it to propagate that message. It's a forever conspiracy. And no amount of evidence will ever change that forever conspiracy, ever. Everything was analyzed forensically. All the blockchain data was checked. A report was issued. It's very long. It's issued by a tier 1 auditor, a tier 1 law firm. Comes out and it shows step by step where all the money went, how it went there, and talks about the blockchain forensics. Just won't read it, won't acknowledge it exists, and just go back to a tweet. Because that's how the world works now. I got upset when people accused me of stealing money. Yeah, you would too. If you spent 10 years of your life, an enormous effort to try to give people their ADA, and then you get accused of not doing that and stealing their money. Absolutely. Any FOIA documents now declassified that interesting or inspire you? For me, it was the remote viewing CIA document. Yeah, that's the whole Project Stargate thing. And most of those documents are actually created by the Department of Defense. The CIA was the hatchet man to shut down Project Stargate in 95. So they didn't really have a lot to do with that program. It was actually run out of Fort Meade, which is NSA's territory. And it was more of a military project with Joe McGonigal and the rest of the guys. But anything from Russell Targ or his, or Inigo Swan is another one. Those guys, they have some really good writings on remote viewing. We're going to start a remote viewing program. I'm really interested in seeing if you can make money with it. So they have something called associative remote viewing. I'm going to train up 10 to 20 scions, get these guys really good, and then we'll set up a $5 million investment fund. We'll place bets every week with the fund, some sports betting and some trading on the Web3 market. And we'll just see what the returns are at the end of the year if they outperform the market. If they're statistically significant and outperform the market, well, then obviously ARV works. Russell Targ did this in 82 with silver trading. So I'll set that up. I'm learning Haskell. Am I wasting my time? No. Haskell is something that's awesome for the mind. It teaches you functional programming. It teaches you about category theory. It teaches you how to think in a pure, beautiful way that's really good for parallel compute. That is applicable to Java and to Scala and to Kotlin and to all these other languages because they've adopted functional principles like map and reduce and filter and immutable with JS and these things. And immutable principles, just learning Haskell, really helps you understand where you can go with the concept. And even if you take it 50 or 60%, what you find is your code is significantly higher quality, more bug-free, and easier to maintain if you build it in a more functional style. Midnight fees are paid in dust, and what happens is the dust typically is not owned by or in the possession of the people initiating the fee. This is the magic of Midnight's design. Night generates dust. The dust is then on a capacity exchange. Ethereum comes in and Bitcoin comes in. These other people come in. They exchange Bitcoin, Ether, and other assets for dust. Then you have basically a pool of assets from all the supporting chains, and then they get distributed as block rewards and validation rewards to the night holders. So it's a beautiful self-sustaining tokenomics. Charles, how is Midnight different from Chainlink's confidential compute? It's full proof stack. We have Plonk and Halo 2, and what we're doing is moving towards a universal pet unification. So the off-chain and the on-chain work together. We can bring homomorphic encryption in, trusted execution environments in, MPC in, and then you have a strong proof system on chain. And what this allows you to do is, through your witness generation, wherever that is, you do your full program off chain, and you have a good proper representation of that thing on chain as a concise proof. Midnight also has a direct observation because of Minotaur over the next 3 to 5 years of all of the different ecosystems it has bridges with, because it'll pay multiple validators, which means Midnight can do folding proofs of each of those systems and understand the state of all of the systems that it's in its remit without possessing full nodes of those systems. So you can query Midnight to understand the state of another system trustlessly, and Midnight will know that state, give you a concise proof that's probably constant size that can be validated on a cell phone. So it's a different thing, but confidential compute, this is not a Chainlink thing. This is an NVIDIA thing. This is an AMD thing. This is much higher above their weight. NVIDIA is a $5 trillion company, and they're building confidential compute into, it's called virtualized trust execution environments, into the NVIDIA chips, into the AMD chips for AI outsourcing, because Azure and Amazon through Nitro and all these other guys, they have these confidential compute clusters. You send your data to them, it does all the operations on it, and it sends the answer back, and you get a guarantee that Microsoft didn't see what it was doing, or Amazon didn't see what they're doing. So Midnight is a coordination framework and a proof engine, and then it's meant so that the other stuff can plug in. And the bets we're taking is we want to piggyback on the GPU revolution. We don't want special purpose hardware like ASICs. That's what Vitalik is betting on. It's a huge strategic mistake. We're betting on GPUs through tensor codes and tensor networks. So Midnight's much more involved because there's a blending of hardware and software-based cryptography and a desire to unify the entire stack into one SDK. You have a layer 2 that's an acceleration layer, and it lives kind of off-chain in a network, and this is where the Google Cloud can make a lot of money, and the Azure can make a lot of money, and these others, but they don't get to see what's going on. And then the layer 1 is the aggregation point where you settle a collection of these things at time, which means the system can infinitely scale. So over time, Midnight can process billions of transactions to trillions of transactions, but it only feels like a certain rate. The consensus algorithm Midnight 2 that we're moving to is a revolution of Jolteon. We have the first safety proof and working on the liveness properties right now, but it's 5,000 TPS and sub-second block time. So that's forever sufficient for the proof aggregation component, and then you build up the outsource layer of the system. Would it be possible for Cardano protocol to build out to Midnight or bridge to Midnight? It's already coming in the box. When Midnight fully ships, the last part is a bidirectional recursive snark bridge. So on the Cardano side, we added BLS support. On the Midnight side, we have it. So both sides will have trustless bridging capability. So you can move a transaction over to Midnight and transaction back from Midnight, state back and forth trustlessly. There's no bridge operator because it's recursive snarks on both sides. And what's really cool about it, too, is that with Ouroboros Paris, there's fast finality on both sides. So right now, Midnight Cardano is instant because it's a BFT protocol. Cardano is a slow protocol for settlement. Paris makes it fast settlement. So you should be able to move quickly between Midnight and back for assets and instantaneously for state information. I never understand why a guy with your means chose to live in a shithole like Laramie, Wyoming. I don't live in Laramie. I live in Wheatland. And second, if you don't get it, you don't get it. Maybe the shithole is where you're from. How was your trip and experience in Greece? Did you enjoy Athens most or Thessaloniki? I liked Thessaloniki a little bit more, but Athens is, of course, a lot of fun too. We had a really great time talking to the professors, talking to the infrastructure. We went to the Ellinikon. We went to Philip II's tomb. We're looking for a place to put the campus. So the Venture Studio long-term of I/O is going to have a hub and spoke model. So on the hub side, there's going to be a campus. It has a program to kind of teach people how to start businesses and grow them and take them to the next level. And the spokes are where you deploy the businesses after you learn all the skills and you build up the product market fit. So the spokes we're already starting to build out. We have one in Abu Dhabi we've set up. We have one in Argentina. That's actually one of our flagship offices. And then we'll have 4 or 5 more that we set up throughout the next 24 months. The hub will then deploy into the spokes. The spokes are where the companies grow. So Greece is where we're looking for the campus. It's really now more of a question of the right fit. Athens or Thessaloniki, we still could pivot somewhere else, but we're very interested in Greece for a variety of reasons. Fundamentally, how does Midnight increase ADA value and usage? So Midnight exists as a smart contract on Cardano, the night tokens. If you want to move them, at the end of the day, consumes ADA. Babel fees you can pay a night, but there has to be ADA at the end of the rainbow. So if Midnight is heavily used, heavily traded, and it's moving around, going multi-chain and all this other stuff, the Cardano contract has a tremendous amount of transaction volume, which creates ADA usage. Midnight's staking algorithm pays night to SBOs on Cardano. So you make ADA and night, and the night gets carried through to the ADA wallets, the ADA holders. So you increase the decentralization of the system, improve the profitability of the SBOs, increase the transaction demand on Cardano. Midnight also bridges Cardano to all of the cryptocurrency space. Oracles, wallets, bridges. Why? Because Midnight needs it for its DeFi ecosystem, and being a Cardano native asset, it has to bridge Cardano by default. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And I see this question a lot, that Midnight's killing Cardano. And I'm like, what more do you fucking want? Honestly speaking, you create more demand for the token. You get tier 1 listings for Cardano native assets. You get Cardano linked into the rest of the industry. You get a DeFi ecosystem out of it. You give a reason for Bitcoin to come on over because it gets privacy. You get more revenue streams for stake pool operators. You get an airdrop as an ADA holder. Holy God. God damn. It's just you can't win. You honestly can't. It's just, I get asked the same question again and again and again. And it's like you guys expect that there's going to be a different answer. Either you're not getting it, you don't believe it, or you're stupid. You know, it's just crazy. Or you don't believe me, I guess. Yeah. Will bridge fees be free? No. You have to pay a transaction fee at the very least to the network to process the transaction. Ay, ay, ay. What are you sipping on, big dog? Coffee. But I think I need to start pouring some fucking whiskey or some shit inside my coffee. Oh, Lord. I kind of wish Charles was more optimistic. I'm pretty damn optimistic, man. I'm still here after all these years. I should have retired a long time ago. Just meditate every day, fucking live on a mountaintop, do remote viewing. Why did Trump exclude you from the roundtable meeting earlier this year? You think that, well, at first I didn't donate enough. Second, I tweeted something about XRP donating to Trump, and I used that as the official excuse. Third, there was like he tweeted about ADA being in the reserve, and Sachs wasn't aware of it because he only thought it was going to be Bitcoin, so he retaliated and disinvited as many people as he could for that. So yeah, there's just welcome to White House politics. Left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. It's not about merit for these types of things. It's about connections and patronage. Look, it is what it is. I can separate these things. And again, there's no friends in politics. There's no friends in business. There's interests and incentives. We as an industry have a strong interest and incentive to see a success in this agenda. We're all going to work together and we're going to shut the fuck up and we're going to get it done one way or the other. And I'll be, oh, how you get invited to the White House? My ego is hurt. Oh, I wasn't part of the party. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, shut up. Fucking who cares? Does clarity pass or not? Yes or no? And if it passes, is it useful or harmful to the industry? That's what I care about. I do not care if I'm in the room or not in the room. I do not care where I have to go. I don't care if I have to go to a lumberjack festival in Wisconsin and oil their abs. I will do that if necessary. I don't care if I have to go down to Arkansas and talk to the head of the Senate Ag, make a deal with him in Walmart, okay, and ride little Walmart ponies in Bentonville. I don't give a fuck. If it means it passes and it's useful for the industry, that's what we do. You know, people need to grow up. It's all just TV and vanity and, oh, this person's in the club, this person's not in the club. Power is fleeting. Wasn't too long ago that we had a cancer-ridden dementia puppet as president. Before that, Trump. Before that, Obama. Before that, Bush. There will be a new president after Trump. And there'll be a new president after them. The Securities Exchange Act of 1933 was passed when FDR was president. JFK's dad was the first chairman. 92 years later, it's the law of the land today. How many presidents have we had since then, huh? FDR, Truman, Eisenhower, JFK, LBJ, Nixon, Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump. 20. So the ephemeral concern of fleeting power of the day is immaterial to what you establish as a long-term precedent. The bill, once passed, will be a foundational concern to regulate our industry for decades to come. That's what matters to me. That's what I care about. And I'm not going to say it nicely. And I'm not going to be a nice guy. I'm a results-oriented guy. We got to go get it done. Oh, my Lord, he did. Read the book FDR's Folly. If you go to the Lumberjack Festival in Wisconsin, I'll go with you. You see, some people really do like the lumberjack and the oil. Oiled abs. Charles, can you explain from a developer perspective what use case or dApp types would necessitate the development of a hybrid Midnight or Cardano app? Well, let's talk about Uniswap in Midnight as a case study. So Uniswap would like to list more asset classes. And currently, all assets are treated equally. They're fungible in that system. Okay, so you trade Ether for Bitcoin or Ether for an ERC20 token on Uniswap. Great. Well, what if you have an asset with a regulated policy and it has a disclosure regime, meaning you can't just buy it, you have to meet some disclosure. So currently, what Uniswap would have to do is either figure out a way in Solidity to build an entire privacy system, build a layer two to introduce some sort of privacy system, or centralize the compliance component. And every time you want to trade a regulated asset listed on their exchange, you have to go to Uniswap directly, the company behind it, the foundation, and actually they approve the transaction. So that's a lot of fucking work. Or you could have a hybrid application and you have two deposit flows, one for the non-regulated, one for the regulated, and the regulated goes first through Midnight. Midnight, as a stack, takes care of all the automated compliance through selective disclosure and keeps all of your KYC, AML, and the suitability guidelines and all the transaction information about ownership and this stuff private, only disclosed to the requisite people, maybe the issuer of the RWA or whatever, and the regulators. And once it gives the go-ahead, then settlement is compliance. So if it settles in the Uniswap contract and the money is there, we know it's good to go. Uniswap never saw any of it. They didn't deal with any of it, and they paid the transaction fee in Ether, even though all the magic of regulation occurred on Midnight. Getting it? So all of a sudden, Uniswap increased its TAM from just cryptocurrencies to the $10 trillion RWA market. They did not have to upgrade their smart contract in Uniswap significantly. All of their standardized trading and liquidity and their MEV resistance and all their other stuff stays exactly the same. They didn't have to build a layer two, and they didn't have to get involved in the compliance game. They just had to write a compliance contract on Midnight using Open Zeppelin and Compact and Solidity. And then it just rolls through, and the user doesn't experience anything. They have no idea that they're going from Ethereum to Midnight and back. It's a routing flow. Just like when you use a web service, you call an API on the back end. So when you use your little AI application for your image generation, it's calling ChatGPT, but you don't know it, you don't feel it, you don't see it. So that's what's happening under the nutshell. And that's how it should be. And there's millions of patterns like that with medical records and supply chains and private stablecoins, maybe a private DEX you want to trade privately. So Uniswap creates a clone of itself on Midnight, and all the trades in the order book are private. So nobody knows what you're buying. And you can route liquidity and users from one to the other seamlessly through capacity exchange and multi-chain signatures. That's why we built it. Otherwise, every single time, for every single application, you'll have to rebuild a privacy stack. Make it efficient, make it scalable, make it work well, make it secure. And large teams can do that. And yeah, you have these layer twos like ZK Sync and Starkware and others, and they do some of it, but mostly they're focused on scalability, roll-ups, and getting things recursively to a smaller form. They tend not to have function privacy, and they tend not to think around the whole privacy ecosystem. The off-chain components of privacy, the proof generation off-chain, these types of things, the data custody. We think about the whole banana and all the privacy enhancing technology. So Midnight is the future. It's the next generation, and it's made to work with all these other guys. And through Midnight, you can bridge through. So let's say Uniswap wants to talk to the Solana DEX. They probably should do that through Midnight because it's going to bridge on both sides, and it's got a proof engine on both sides, so it can verify and validate the state of both Ethereum and Solana as a folded state proof. So when transactions go through, they carry PCD, proof carrying data. They carry proof on the wire. So you know that they're right. You know the state of Solana and the state of Uniswap are synchronized. So it's a great bridging infrastructure too between different chains. It's about liquidity, people. ISO 222 compliance is like the inside joke that we all have. It's a format. Anything that's programmable supports the format. It's not a core USP. but you guys just really love it. It's a big thing. So we talk about it from time to time. Why are you trying to explain physics to a third grade math student? Because if you can't explain physics to a third grade math student, then you can't explain physics to a fourth grade student. Then you can't explain physics to a fifth grade student. And eventually you can't explain physics to anybody. No matter how complex a topic is, you must strive to make it simple for everybody to understand it. Otherwise, the topic will die. This is what Feynman talked about in physics. He did everything in his power to take some of the most complex physics concepts and make them understandable for regular people. The process of doing it, you better understand it yourself. When I explain it to you guys, I learn. That's how I stay sharp. That's how I grow. That's how great mathematicians do it. It's how great physicists do it. It's how great computer scientists do it. You always need to be teaching, and you always need to be teaching the non-technical, or else you'll never make any progress. Do you see the new IRS staking rules? Looks like Cardano was made for them. Because we bet right. We bet on the future, yo. Podcasts, or basically books, is what Linda thought to herself as she read her book in her bed, imagining of a future that never came. Chapter 2. If remote viewing is real, does this mean alternative universes could exist? Yeah. With or without it, they're orthogonal to each other. Vitalik is working on his privacy chain called Noonday. He invented it, right? Oh, Lord. It was funny. Somebody asked him at an event, what do you think of Midnight? And he says, I don't know anything about it. I don't follow Charles's projects. Wait, if you don't know anything about it, how do you know it's a Charles project? You're paying attention. You're a watching. You're a watching. You're seeing. Charles, most privacy coins have little to no TVL. Yeah, because they're not smart contract systems. They're transaction privacy, like Zcash and Monero. They don't do smart contracts. DC Midnight Finality changing this? Absolutely. 100%. I think we'll have 1 billion in TVL before the end of 2026. We're going to work like dogs for it. Recommend some good books. Making my 2026 list, I would highly recommend We Are Electric from Sally Adi. Wonderful book. Changes your entire view on electricity and the electrum. Does Cardano have an M-Pesa strategy? We do. It's called RealFi. And actually, I'll show you guys right now. It's going to be a huge fucking thing next year. Massive launch right after midnight. It's going to be equal or greater in size. And this is going to be the TVL monster for Cardano and midnight alike. There you go. That's RealFi. Check it out. That, and people say, like, what happened to Cardano in Africa? Where did it go? Well, that's where John O'Connor went. We've been working on this damn thing for a long time. But microfinance on a blockchain in Africa and South America and Southeast Asia. Lower the rates, make them peer-to-peer, and create great lending market. Billions and billions of dollars. Billions and billions of dollars. Believe me, billions of dollars. Nobody gets more. Nobody. Billions. It has been. It's like you guys just assume that if we don't make announcements 24/7, nothing's been done. They're literally writing the smart contracts right now for the launch of RealFi for next year. We've been working on it. Everybody's gotten together. It's a big thing. What about new dApps on Cardano? Well, this gives Cardano dApps a new way to express themselves with a privacy layer. If the Ethereum dApps and Solana dApps are slow to adapt, Cardano dApps can use this as a competitive USP against their Solana and Ethereum counterparts because they now offer the privacy channel, which allows them to track more local and external TVL. So upgrade. There's a lot of Cardano dApp developers that want to build into Midnight. I think the C-Swap guys are doing it, amongst others. And it gives them an ability to differentiate themselves and do new things that other people don't have, as are the Sunday guys and others. What do you say to people who say Midnight will be your favorite child and you'll slowly abandon Cardano with the problems of the foundation? No, you just hold a Cardano accountable for being a kid that grew up. You never abandon your children, you just fundamentally change your relationship. If your kid is living in the basement at 30 years old, smoking pot and doesn't have a job and you have to pay for everything, are you a good parent? Okay? Cardano's grown up. It needs to go to college. It needs to get a job. It needs to be sustainable. I'm still the father. I'm still there. I still love it. I still care about it. I still have a relationship with it. But you have to change the relationship, and you can't be a steward forever or a custodian forever. You can't be paternal forever. Cardano has to make its own decisions, make its own mistakes. Now, there's wisdom and guidance. You always go to the dad and say, hey, dad, I'm thinking about getting married. I'm thinking about doing this. And you solve that problem. But that doesn't mean you abandon your kids. It means you give them the space they need to become their own men, become their own daughters. They become their own people. Cardano, for example, is trying to decide, does it pay the Constitutional Committee or not? And it's trying to decide, should it update the Constitution or not? I've stayed out of it. Why? I can have an opinion, and I do have an opinion, but getting involved in that type of stuff, it prevents people from having the conversation and growing the way that they need to grow. And Cardano needs to grow. And I believe the people are there, the roots are there, the funding is there. It has a massive on-chain treasury. There's a lot of very prominent people that want to see it succeed. And what we're doing is doing the stuff to make sure that Cardano has a beautiful technology roadmap. We're moving into the intent space. The partner chains network, with the success of Midnight, breeds the ability to launch multiple partner chains, perhaps one a year, which means holding ADA, you get lots of token drops. Holding ADA, you get multiple income streams above and beyond ADA. That alone brings a lot of interest in. And Bitcoin DeFi gives us access to a large pool of capital to come into Cardano. We don't have to steal it from Ethereum or Solana or other places where it's very sticky and it's hard to displace because Bitcoin doesn't have that stickiness at the moment. Okay, so we're focusing on the big items: liquidity, user growth, new narratives, speed and acceleration and throughput, and technological enhancements, and of course always improving the DevEx, in addition to the resilience. But the Cardano ecosystem, it has to govern. It has to be in charge. It has to have leaders come up and push the thing through. Otherwise, it just stay in the basement, smoke pot every day, and never get anything done. You know, and Midnight isn't new. It's a child. It needs my guidance. It needs help. It needs the Midnight Foundation's guidance, help. It's a new product. But one day it'll have the same journey for that. And that's what makes it sustainable. And that's what makes it stable and resilient, is that it is able to become self-determining and self-recursive in its governance. What's the update on Bitcoin DeFi? There's a lot of Bitcoin. We've been able to source more than 24,000 that could potentially move over. The challenge is we need yield products, and we need to get the technology where it needs to be. There's going to be a presentation on Bitcoin DeFi at Abu Dhabi Finance Week. There's a full team. Omer is running it. There's a lot of promise and merit with that team. I think they have the right vision. I want to use it in RealFi. That's real money in my pocket. I want that Bitcoin. I want that on the Cardano network. We got to make it happen. You mentioned quantum resistance being built on Midnight. How does it apply for Cardano Layer 1? I made a video on quantum resistance for Cardano. Search through my videos and you can find it. I went in like 30 minutes straight about how that's going to work and what we're going to do. Cardano is not your Black Hawk, pal. What does that even mean? I don't even know. I don't even know what that means. Not my Black Hawk. Who are you people? You are a schizophrenic. I will be happy the day you leave the Cardano ecosystem. Schizophrenic? That's a new one. I usually hear sociopath and narcissist and pathological liar, but schizophrenic. Like, do you hear the voices too? Was like auditory illusions, visual disruption? I mean, you gotta give me more. Like, am I in a catatonic state? Maybe ketamine addict? I don't know. I just don't know. Like, can you can you give me a little bit more? Oh Lord. Why was the term Ouroboros used for the protocol? Because you have epics that feed into the next epic. So your epic is 5 days. So it's like the serpent eating its own tail. So after the epic is closed, you have the next epic open. So you have an infinite series of epics. Any chance the scavenger hunt will get extended? No. No. No, no, no. No, 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 no. 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 No, 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 no. 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 No, no, no. Ada today is more like the adult child that was raised by the vengeful ex and rude the child despite you. Holy shit, it feels that way. It really does. Oh my God. There we go. I finally got a divorce. What's going on with that X402 payment system on Cardano? Agent to agent commerce. My goal is to not be kicked out of the Midnight Ambassador program. Big pay, you were not treated well here in Cardano. You've done a lot for this ecosystem, and I'm sorry you've had to go through all that. They could have done better, honestly speaking. And it's sad. We lost a lot of great influencers and a lot of loyal people throughout the years, and some people went crazy, and some people I consider to be friends went batshit crazy. And that is what it is. When you have conflict, some people take bizarre sides. But people always show you who they are. When the ADA voucher audit report came out, y'all got to see how I make decisions when nobody's looking. Because for 10 years' time, there was almost no scrutiny. Nobody was watching. Every day, we were just making decisions. And the history of that document really reads, and you can see blow by blow, day by day, how we just try to handle a bad situation and make it better for everybody. And you can see me. I do these AMAs, and I'm out there in the public, and we talk. And every step of the way, you can see how I think and how I approach a problem. And whether you agree or disagree, at least you know where my heart is and where I stand. And there's a lot of people in the Cardano ecosystem who are the same. They're high integrity people. They do good work. There's some people who aren't. And we've created this culture of puritanical purges. People must be perfect, always say the right thing, always agree with them, otherwise they have to be destroyed. Maybe it's a micro trend of the macro where we're doing that, but it's got to stop because it's destroyed a lot of good people, and a lot of people have retired. They just don't want to play in the pond anymore. And it makes me sad, because they were friends. For my part, I could have probably done better on many, many different things. And you see with Midnight an attempt to correct those mistakes, from better distribution to more accountable core entities to having a clear commercial vision, better product market fit with these types of things. You always learn when you go, better technology choices on how to put things together and accelerate them quickly. But with Cardano, nothing is unfixable. It's just a question of who fixes it. I see these comments like, Charles, you're a billionaire. Why don't you just, instead of being here with us, spend all this money on marketing to make Cardano better? Why is it my job? Why? Run your mind through the consequences of that. If it's my job and I have to do it, I'll never not do it. And the kid will always live in the basement. The kid will always be smoking the pot. And then anytime that something happens, it's not your fault, not the kid's fault, it's my fault. There's no agency, there's no accountability, there's no growth, there's no achievement there. And also, when you look at it, when you set these things up, there's supposed to be accountable parties for that stuff. The one that doesn't want to do it. So why can't we form another entity with the Treasury's funds and have them go and do that? I tried to do it as a demo for the Sovereign Wealth Fund. We still haven't passed that through. Y'all talk about the need for TVL, the need for stablecoin. You had a proposal on the table to do it, to create an active managed treasury. Where is it? Wasn't Charles Hoskinson voting against that? Set it all up, told everybody how to do it. Where is it? Why didn't it pass? It's there. It's on the table. That had been $50 million right into our liquidity, right into our TVL through stablecoins for the good of the ecosystem. And every year we could do it, double it. We've done that 4 years ago. It'd be 200 million. We have on-chain government. We can do it. You don't like the marketing, form a marketing entity, raise some funds from the Treasury. Go and do it. If you ask me to do it, I'm not going to. Just not. Because I'll hurt the ecosystem if I do that. And it's just endless criticism. I don't get any upside for it. And when I market one person and not the other person I don't market attacks me. And it's not nice attacks. Charles is evil. Charles is corrupt. Charles wants to destroy me. Charles wants to destroy the ecosystem. Charles is doing it wrong. And if I market the other person, Charles is marketing the other person because he has a secret deal with that person. Charles is marketing that person because he owns the token and he's just pumping his bags. Charles doing this, Charles doing that. Look at my lived experience launching Midnight on Cardano. Heaven's sake, do the glacier drop. It's not good enough. You're incompetent. You're stupid. More than 1 million people, it looks like, participated. Largest drop in the history of our industry. More work was done with the scavenger hunt than the first few years of Bitcoin in 3 fucking weeks. It brought new people in. About half of the distribution were non-Cardano holders into our ecosystem. And if you look at the commentary from the Cardano people, so much negativity and criticism and attacks for literally free fucking money. If you treat me this way, don't you treat the builders this way? And then you ask, why don't builders come here? Then you ask, why don't we have more adoption? Why don't we have more TVL? Honestly speaking, look at yourself in the fucking mirror. Honestly speaking, take a moment, take a step back, you entitled children who have this attitude. And understand what you're doing is destroying the ecosystem, not building up the ecosystem. You want something fixed, talk about who needs to be in the room and how do you incentivize them to fix it. If someone's building something that will create benefit for your ecosystem, you embrace those people and you welcome those people. You get excited about those people. You market those people. How many tweets have come from the Cardano Foundation about Midnight? Look at their timeline. How many discussions do they have about it? It's the single largest, most exciting, and relevant project in the history of the Cardano ecosystem. And if it's successful, it proves that Cardano can launch a $10 billion cryptocurrency. There is nothing of more significance commercially going on in Cardano in 2025 and beyond than that project right now. And the people who profess to be pushing for the adoption, growth, brand, and reputation of Cardano won't talk about it. Nose despite your face. They're just cutting it off. That's the culture that we're sitting on right now. If you want to change it, change it. I'm doing my part. I stayed out of governance. I'm doing my part. I stay out of commenting on the structural things. We got the Constitution. We got the on-chain government. We pulled back. I'm giving you guys the space to have agency. Giving you guys the space to grow up and be your own people. But you have to have adult conversations about these things. And you have to talk about KPIs in the future. You have to talk about what does growth mean. Yeah, the token price isn't great, but you know what? There are 25,000 cryptocurrency projects that would trade for us right now because we're in the top fucking 10. And we've been there for 8 years. And yeah, if you want to compare it to Solana and XRP and BNB, sure. They had a better cycle so far. But in 2021, we went from 15 cents to $3 in a single year. We went from a 20x. So things move quickly in this industry. People on top collapse. People on the bottom go way up. It's the roll of the dice. And in many cases, we have no control over the macro. So you have to focus on fundamentals and say, are we getting more decentralized? Are we getting more resilient? Are we getting more useful? Are we getting to be a more obvious choice for people to build? What we can focus on is the technology and the culture and how we treat each other. Because we can't control when Trump tweets. We can't control when a tariff comes. We can't control when a war breaks out. We can't control when a pandemic happens. We can't control those factors. But we can control how we treat each other. And we can control whether it's a pleasant, fun, exciting, good experience to be in this ecosystem, or it's a miserable, disgusting, horrible experience to be in this ecosystem. That's what we have agency over. And if you want growth in the long term, be chill, be good, be friendly, be happy. 2026, there needs to be a reset, a cultural reset. And we have to take a fucking chill pill, calm the fuck out, and everybody's got to get along. And stop it. Stop the nonsense. Honestly speaking, people in this community accuse the founder of the community of rewriting the blockchain without evidence and stealing $600 million without evidence, and propagated this and formed cabals to spread it. And founding entities in this ecosystem, even though they knew it didn't happen, said nothing, hoping that the scandal would drive me out. That is 2025 in a fucking nutshell. That is my lived experience in a fucking nutshell. And you expect me just to smile and get happy and go on. Most people would leave and retire. But I love my kids. I do. I care. And I want them to grow up and be happy and be successful. And part is knowing when to have tough love and when to embrace. And right now, some tough love is needed. Honestly speaking, it is. We need to grow up and culturally change as an ecosystem. We need to be better about this stuff. You have all this advantage. You have a loyal community. You have a great geographic distribution. You have no regulatory problems. You have phenomenal technology that's getting exponentially better, radically fast. You have Bitcoin DeFi. You have the partner chains model. Okay? You have a gradually growing, diverse client ecosystem. You have independent teams. You have a great members-based organization with Intersect. And every time I list these things, there's some of you listening who say, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but nothing. Fix it. You got a problem with Intersect, fix it. You got a problem with Bitcoin DeFi, fix it. If you're cynical about something, list where it's problematic and fix the fucking problem. Take accountability and agency for it. There is no reason we can't be successful. There is no reason why the TVL can't go up 10x or 20x, and we can't find some clever way to integrate here. There's no reason at all. There's no divine command that says Cardano must fail, all but Cardano. Take the learned hopelessness out, shut the fuck up and do the goddamn work, or get out. You're poisoning and killing the ecosystem. You want to do nothing, but then you want to stay and criticize the people who do something until those people get so fed up they don't want to do it anymore. Then you see the canary in the coal mine when your OGs retire because of the toxicity. My God, and no one wants to be held accountable. You say stupid things, people will criticize you for those stupid things. Grow a thick skin. I say stupid things all the time. I'm still here. I still deal with it. Cardano Whale is a phenomenal example of that. He said stupid stuff. He was just provably wrong. There are billions of dollars worth of ADA turned around every fucking week. You can divest in a matter of a week, $50 million and not move the market. There's depth for that. We've seen it again and again and again. He's just wrong. I know he's wrong. Factually wrong. But he couldn't take it. Was it his way or the highway? Pack up and go home. And he did it in 2 stages. First, left Twitter, as he's done multiple times. And then, as a D-Rep, voted against I.O., against every single thing we do. Defund Leos, defund our research group, all these other things. Because he's angry that he was held accountable. That's childish behavior. Childish. And then you still worship, gosh, if only we can get Whale back, everything would be better. That was part of the toxic culture. That was part of the culture of us or nothing. We're better than everybody else. Fuck everybody. Let's not work with people. Let's not cooperate with people. With Midnight, we get a reset. We bring all these new people in. What are they going to see? A welcoming environment or a hostile environment? We flip the switch soon. What are they going to see on Cardano? I'm not being emotional. I care. You're hearing concern and love. It's not hate. It's love. It's anger over love. You don't get angry over the things you don't care about. If I didn't care about Cardano, I'd be numb and be like, well, yeah, it is what it is. You go to a bank and some person's pleading emotionally, please don't take my home. Don't take my home. The banker has no relationship with the person. I'm sorry, Sally. That's just the way it is. You didn't pay your loans. We're going to have to take the asset. Have a nice day. They move on, never thinks about Sally again. Doesn't care about Sally. There's no emotions there. When you care about something, there's emotions. When you care about something, there's anger. There's connection. True hate is not hate. It's disinterest. It's dispassionate. It's numbness. It's coldness. The lowest layer of hell isn't on fire. It's frozen because it's so far from God's love. That was Dante's point in Dante's Inferno. So I'm emotional about the state of Cardano in many respects because there's just so many self-inflicted wounds that are completely unnecessary. And for our part, we wake up every day and try to fix it. We admit fully and freely that many mistakes were made on the IO side, and I'm ultimately accountable for that. And for the rest of the ecosystem, they can't do the same exercise. There's a lot of really bad just stagnation. And it's deeply frustrating to me because I'm trying to push things along. I'm trying to get the kids to get the job, get the next level. And it's frustrating because we have all the advantages. We bet right on liquid non-custodial staking. We bet right on the interoperability model. We bet right on the L2 model. We bet right on partner chains. We bet right on extended UTXO and Bitcoin DeFi. We bet right on all these things. We bet right on on-chain governance. It's all there. It's a tremendously talented person. But he needs to focus. He needs to apply himself. And as a parent, I'm sitting there, I'm just saying, please, Johnny, please, don't do this. Be better. Hi. Emotional reaction. No, absolutely not. Then Charles, you're at fault. It's your problem. You've never fucking cared about anything in your fucking life. That's your problem. You've never loved something so much and wanted it to succeed so much. I get passionate because I care. You don't care. You guys create these little frameworks. Take a time out. Take 5 seconds. Take second 10. I'm Italian. We love things. We care about things. Why does Italy make beautiful things? Because they love things. They put love into the art. They put love into the sculpture. They put love into the building. They put love into the food. That's why we get fat. You put the love in the pasta. You eat the pasta. You're like, oh, it's so good. How do you make it that good? It's not Prego. Okay? It's not high fructose corn syrup. Every part of the chain, the tomatoes are beautiful. And why are they beautiful? Because the farmer, every day, he goes up to that tomato vine and he says, you know what? Tomato vine, I love you. Mi amo. You're my tomato. Come here. Go hug me. There we go. And that tomato gets filled with the love. Then they process it. And the chef, he's sitting there. He has that tomato in his hand. He says, I know you are loved. You will love a lot. And he puts it in the sauce. And then the waiter, he brings it on out. And he's like, nothing make me happier than once you take that bite. Come on, manja. You just take the bite. Take the bite. They take the bite. And you're like, holy shit. It's the best fucking pasta I've ever had. And he's like, I told you. You got the love in your mouth. That's why it's awesome. Is you got to get that passionate about stuff. Every line of code matters. Every part of Cardano matters. Every single thing. Every blade of grass in the backyard. It matters. You got to be passionate about this type of stuff, or else you never get anything done. And nobody cares. Guys, if you're dispassionate, it's just technology. So what's the difference between Cardano and Sui and Aptos and Solana? Well, we have all this technology. Well, they'll have technology in 18 months. And once they have the technology, what's the difference? It's user metrics and network effects. So what if your network effect isn't very good? Why would anybody care for Cardano to survive? It's just technology. It's just a protocol, just a token. If it has love in it, there's an emotional connection to it. You say, I love this place. I want this thing to be successful. If Italy was just a collection of administrative policies and tax rates and quality of life metrics, the minute those look bad, people just leave. Why did they stay? They stayed because they love the place. They love the people. And they want it to succeed. They put the money into it. It wasn't rational to build a 70,000 square foot clinic in Gillette, Wyoming. It just wasn't. The economics don't work. It's an insane project. It was so hard to build. You have no idea what we had to deal with and the insanity of it. But we built it anyway because we love the community. We love the people, the 17,000 people. And you know what? You go to my clinic in Gillette, Wyoming. You walk those halls in the clinic and you see the people there. Every single one of them, they got smiles on their face. They like the place. They really do. Google Hoskinson Health and Wellness. Look at the Google reviews. Look at the happiness that people have there. They really care. They really think, gosh, this is something special. You got to have love in your heart. You have to have passion and joy in the things that you do, and you will do those things for life. That's definitely true. Get some tacos. Love those tacos. It is. The technology is getting better, but the problem is quantum computers are going to be here probably by 2033. So, unfortunately, we're all going to have to put those weights on and start training with them. And first to market there is going to have a huge advantage over the rest. So, we have a 2 year strategy on Midnight to get there. Midnight will be kind of the petri dish to backport it into Cardano. Have you abandoned World Mobile Token or are you cooking? I still want to build a Earth node. I've remained relatively the same. You always got the greatest sense of humor. You're always up for a laugh. Hey, Charles is the life of the party. And always know how to make people smile. Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, you. Any cool stuff written on the wall behind you? Actually, yeah. It's actually super cool. Are you satisfied with the development of the Stuff IO company since you became part of the store? They got William Shatner. How about that? I never thought I would do an X Space with William Shatner. It was like one of those surreal moments where I'm on the X Space, William Shatner is there, we're talking, and I'm just like, this is amazing. He's going to monetize his content on Stuff and pass it through multiple blockchains. That's so cool. I grew up watching those movies. I saw The Wrath of Khan and The Undiscovered Country, and I watched T.J. Hooker. Oh man, it was on reruns late at night in the '90s. Terrible show. Terrible show. You watch like 5 episodes. Is this gonna get better? But that's William Shatner. It's great. Boston Legal. Remember Denny Crane? Denny Crane. Oh man, it's cool because Bill reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing something. Where should I go?" I said, "The Stuff guys are the great guys." I handed them the deal. They called them, they talked to them, and they got the deal. I had nothing to do with it after I handed it off. I just said, "Here's William Shatner," and they made it happen. I was like, "Whoa, those guys are good." Nothing makes me happier than a competent company. You hand them a great opportunity, they find a way to make that opportunity reality. So Ben is and his team, they're great. And they're doing a wonderful job at Stuff.io, and it's going to continue growing by leaps and bounds. Shatner just did a video with Altcoin Daily. Yep, there you go. Charles, what's your definition of artificial general intelligence? Do you think it'd be reached with an LLM? So it's kind of a red herring when you look at intelligence in general. So I tend to look at intelligence in kind of like a very reductionistic view. And I say, okay, intelligence is an entity or organism's ability to influence its environment towards a goal, either in the short or long term. Now, when you look at it from that lens or perspective, bacteria can be hyper intelligent, and humans can be very intelligent. Animals can be very intelligent. If this thing, entity, could be living or non living, has the ability to influence its environment to pursue an end, what are you really saying here? It understands how the world around it works, and it has some internal desire to pick and pursue a goal. Human beings are really bad at intelligence up and down the stack. So when you look at a human, rating a human, you can say, well, that person's very smart or that person's dumb. Okay, but when you go up the stack and a human interacts with a super intelligence, it may not be the case that the human is actually able to discern that that thing is very, very smart. They actually may even think it's not smart. They may think it's dumb because they can't understand why it does what it does. And so it may just appear as a non-intelligent entity. And when you go down the stack, it's actually hard to understand more primitive life. So why do cells do what they do? There's no spatial information in DNA. And when you fertilize an embryo, it starts dividing and it becomes a person. And it has 2 hands and 2 eyes and 2 legs. Well, how does it know where those hands go and those eyes and legs go? And how does it figure out all that stuff? There's some form of goal direction there that's implicit within the medium. And we discount it. We're just like, well, that's not the same as our intelligence. Well, we exist only because of that emergent intelligence. And if we had a nuclear war and wiped out all of humanity, I'm willing to wager bacteria would still be around. And they'd be doing just fine, and they would adapt to the radioactive environment. They can even live in space in certain circumstances. How is that not intelligence? So when you talk about AGI, what you're really talking about is a collection of things. First, can you build a world model so that an AI agent can understand an environment similar to or the same as our world? Then, can that system have some degree of influence or insight into picking its own goals? Okay, so I want to do X, Y, and Z. Why? Because somebody told me. It doesn't seem like a very intelligent system. I want to do X, Y, and Z because I think it's a good idea. Well, that's kind of different. There's some concept of autonomy that's inside the definition of intelligence. Then, if you have a world model and autonomy, it's able to pursue a goal. Then there's a question of learning and self-correction. Okay, so I tell you, go play Beethoven's, Moonlight Sonata, third movement. It's a particularly difficult piece. All right, you have the sheet music. You have a rough idea what it should sound like. You pursue this goal. You don't know how to play the piano. So you start practicing. There are ways to practice where there's never improvement, and there's ways to practice where there's continuous improvement. It's called deliberate practice. Okay, so can the machine start practicing and learn step by step over a finite period of time how to converge to what it should sound like to pursue that goal? So this concept of learnability and goal direction. So, well, did I tell it to play it, or did it decide that it was a good idea by itself? Or was it connected to a larger goal? Like, for example, machine, I want you to become Beethoven's digital twin. Figure it out. Well, that would be a sub-goal within that larger goal. True autonomy and true direction, even if it's semi-autonomous in that I told it the initial impulse, go do this thing, it has the ability to think around the collection of experiences and knowledge and other things it would need to gain to be able to pursue that high-directed goal. Why do we care about that as humans? Because oftentimes we'll say things like cure cancer, reverse aging, resurrect the dead, solve world hunger, negotiate peace in the Middle East. These are desires. You notice we don't have a solution for these things, but they're desires. And there's some acknowledgement that these are ubiquitously good. So if you can give that desire to an autonomous agent, it has a world model, it understands how to learn in the pursuit of its goal, and it's given a computational budget, and it can replicate and try different directions and approaches. Eventually, it will stumble across a path to create something novel, new, and interesting to pursue that. Where it gets interesting is that we look at problems in human scale time. But an agent can spend 10,000 years of human scale time, but do that in 30 seconds with the equivalent amount of computational power. And it can try many, many, many different approaches. And knowledge is perfectly transitioned and transferred for all these different things. Notice we're still kind of missing a value system, which is what Pope Leo XIV was talking about, and we're missing wisdom. What should we do? Is it really a good idea to cure cancer? Maybe, maybe not. If there's no death, you have overpopulation. So what do you do about that? Is it really a good idea to have peace in the Middle East? Perhaps in the short term, but maybe in the long term, there's something else. I don't know. The challenge with wisdom is you have to look at not just the today and the problems of today, but you have to have foresight. So there's a connection between the wisdom of a model and the ability to predict the future with resolution and look into some sort of event that goes all the way through. And you can do these retrospectives and say, well, should we have A or B? Like eliminating the filibuster in the Senate. It's the fast food. It's the high fructose corn syrup of politics. Tastes really good, but long term it's catastrophic. Because what happens when your party is no longer in charge? The other party comes in, and now they get to move very quickly with any agenda, and there's no checks and balances to it. And people recognize, as problematic as it can be, you have to have some place where there's some bipartisanship and some negotiation that's there. People who don't care about the future, who lack wisdom, they advocate for the removal of that institution. You see, so wisdom is another characteristic, and it's closely related to the goal direction of what goals should you pursue, why you should pursue them, and what outcomes do you wish to effectuate, and when do you know you're wrong, and when do you change direction with these types of things. So, to answer your question, are we making progress in that direction? Memory, learnability, computational inference, the quality of the models, yes. The world models, yes. We are developing an intuition for the world in the language that an LLM understands. We are gaining massive returns in terms of making them more efficient, spotting up agentic workflows, and pursuing complex goals with a high degree of autonomy. On the wisdom side, super alignment, we're building some value models and ethical models. We're not making as fast progress in that world. So we're building the capability, but the capability doesn't really have the same value set that we do. And then it's probably never going to be the case that it can, because it's a different nature of an organism. It views time, mortality, and goals very differently than we do. So it's something we have to figure out. Do I think it can be reached with an LLM? I think it can be reached with what an LLM is inspired to do. The transformer will be replaced with a different primitive, but the concepts of synthetic data and training and reinforcement learning and these types of things, they get reused again and again and again. And the scale of the hardware substrate to think into and all this other stuff, it's getting evolved and grown. And we're learning how to talk to these things through prompts, through MCP, how to organize these things and get them to talk to each other. And every step of the way, there's just so much money and so many people. There's an inevitability behind AGI, just like there's an inevitability behind quantum computing. And they will be combined together. You don't need self-awareness. You don't need embodiment. That's a misconception of AGI. And actually, Dan Dennett talks about this a lot with the philosophical zombie. A lot of people think it's not AGI unless it's human. No, it just has to have the ability to understand its environment and pick its own goals. But it doesn't have to have a sense of self or consciousness or an internal narrative and dialogue and think, oh, well, I'm doing this because it makes me happy, or these types of things. That's not a requirement for AGI or superhuman capabilities. It's really not. And this is another example of just straight up lies. Plutus is why no one is building on Cardano. What about Aken? Say you hate Plutus. What about Aken? Do you know anything about Aken? No, you don't. Because you're not from our ecosystem. You stumble in here, you're watching a live stream or a Twitter, and you say, oh, well, Plutus is bad and it's Haskell only and nobody knows how to use it, and therefore that's why Cardano's not being used. What about Aken? You don't know about it. So you lie. Because the vast majority of opinions in our space are shallow opinions. They have no meaning, they have no context, they have no value proposition. They do nothing for us. Yep. Charles, after bringing back the woolly mammoth, can you create an animal that breathes fire? Yeah, sure. It's not actually that hard. It's not discouraging people. Again, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And here, we're going to educate every single person in this ecosystem now because of you. Here we go. Tell me where the Haskell touched you here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This runs on Cardano. Most Cardano apps are written these days in this language. Does that look like Haskell to you? Is that Plutus? No, it's not Plutus. It is a Cardano smart contract language. That's not Plutus. It's based on Rust. There you go. It's very easy to use, very concise to use. Super fast to write a contract in it. So you're telling me that Plutus is discouraging people when they have the ability right here, right now, to write in a non-Plutus language on Cardano that's made for them. But you don't know about it. But you comment on it. And then you have this strong opinion that that is what's causing people not to build on Cardano. The majority of contracts written on Cardano today are written in Aken, not Plutus. So it is not a barrier. It's not. It's just factually wrong. Your opinion is wrong. It's factually wrong. Now you can argue that nobody knows about Aken outside of Cardano land, and that's why they've discounted. But now you're not talking about a Plutus problem, are you? You're talking about a marketing problem. That's what you're talking about. So we can have that conversation. Aken needs better marketing. That's fair. So how would we do that? Well, if we had a functioning foundation, they would recognize that. And they say, you know what we need to do? Aken hackathons. Let's do one every 2 weeks across the world. Put a few $1 million into the budget and go on a roadshow and show people that they can build with Aken. Boy, instead of having a vanity party in Berlin and bring you less than 1,000 people together and spending $6.8 million of the community's money, maybe we should do that at Token 2049 and Consensus and Bitcoin and these other conferences that have 20, 30, 40,000 people and have hackathons there with $1 million prize in Aken. And then people say, I thought I had to know Haskell to write smart contracts on Cardano. No, we changed that. You don't have to do it. Oh, well, that's super cool. Well, I want that $1 million. I'm going to go learn Aken. Tell all my friends about it. Wow, Cardano's so awesome. Extended UTXO is actually not that hard. I didn't know. I'm going to go tell all my developer friends. That's a good idea. So is it a Plutus problem? Or is it talking about Aken problem? What is it? It's a talking about Aken problem. Will Midnight use a proof of useful work as a mining method? Oh man, I would love to find a path for Midnight to do that. I really would. It would be so cool. We're working on it. I think there is a path for that. Charles, can Midnight replace Zcash completely? Midnight is a superset of Zcash. It does everything Zcash does and more. Charles, how do I put my hat in the ring and be one of the Midnight podcasters? We'll get back to you. Well, of course, you fucking heard of Aken. You created it, you son of a bitch. This is Lucas right here. He's like, I've heard of Aken. This guy. uh, this guy. Yeah. Now you play the victim. You clutch your pearls. You're, you called me out for my opinion. Oh, I clutch my pearls. Oh, no. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, man. Take it on the chin. You got to be precise with your language. You have to say, is Aken the problem or is it talking about Aken? We're not talking about Aken. That's the problem. So let's go talk about it. So here's what you do. Go to Catalyst and say, I want $50,000 worth of ADA to spend the next year of my life traveling the world as Captain Aken. And I'm going to go tell everybody about Aken. I'm going to wear the Aken suit, like big A in my head. I'm going to walk around, be like Hare Krishna people at the airport. Hare Krishna, come for a free feast. You'd be like, Aken, come for a free feast. Like guest lecture with Lucas and Casey, these other guys. You see, you could do that. And then we've solved our Aken problem because you are now an Aken ambassador. There we go. I'm Aken for Aken. Yeah, this guy, he gets it now. He's Aken for Aken. How about that? We use Aken for the Atrium profile, and that's one of the best smart contracts of 2025. Very complex, very hard. You know, the big pace guys. Stop trying to appease him. He likes being. Well, you still haven't told me why I'm schizophrenic. I'm waiting for you, man. You gotta come in. You gotta tell us. Everybody's here. You got 12,000 people listening live from warm, sunny Colorado. You gotta go tell them. You called me out for talking point about many people. Again, precision in language. Let's be more precise and concise. Some people say Plutus is the problem. Why do people have that perception? That's very different from Plutus is the problem. See? Precise and concise. No disrespect, Tone. But you know, some people say that you got a little bit of the ego problem, Tone. And you know, as your consigliere, I'm supposed to tell you, Tone, that maybe you need to tone it down a little bit, you know? The Sopranos, everything always leads back to Tony. Do. Did you talk about microtubules yet? Oh, Lord, no. Although those dish brain computers, we can use that to verify if you can create a biological quantum computer. That'd be fun. Thank you. Want to thank you for midnight. My claims on Lace were seamless, and my scavenger mining is moving right along. Finally. That one guy that just everything worked for him. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And on behalf of the team, we thank you. Colorado is too warm and too sunny lately. You can never be too warm and too sunny, except for the times you can be. Hypothetically speaking, if you had a chance to be an executive producer on Sam the Bull's Sopranos-like series, would you take that offer? I know Sammy personally can make that happen. Nah, I'm going to stay out of the Cosa Nostra stuff. I called you a schizo because you. Now it's like the Sopranos. It just cuts to black. See it again. It goes back to the fucking Sopranos, man. We're all waiting with bated breath. We got 12,000 people. 12,000 people. Actually, let's go ahead here. Let's see. Okay, what are the symptoms of? Here we go. All right. We're getting perplexity involved here via. All right. So here's my perplexity. So here are the common symptoms, and can you tell the audience which ones I have? So we have hallucinations, frequently involving hearing voices, seeing, smelling, delusions, strong beliefs unsupported by reality, such as paranoia or grandiosity. Examples of thinking you're being spied on or having superpowers or believing you are a famous person. Disorganized speech and thinking, trouble focusing, jumping between thoughts, speaking in jumbled or incoherent ways. Abnormal behavior like repetitive motions, unusual postures, periods of immobility. Negative symptoms like the loss of normal functioning, such as a lack of motivation, reduced emotional expression, difficulty planning ahead, social withdrawal, poor hygiene and self-care, changes in social interaction. Yeah. So you got anything for me? Let's see. Let's look through the list. No, I don't see him. I don't see him saying anything. Oh well. Well, you just look at that list. You think about that, okay? You come back. You let me know which one of those things I have. Is it delusions, disorganized speech, abnormal behavior? I mean, you could say delusions of grandeur, all that stuff. But I kind of did do a lot in my life. You might not like it or think it's valid, but I do. A lot of people do. You're listening to me on a fucking Tuesday at goddamn 11:35 in the morning. 12,000 people are with 1 million followers. So maybe, just maybe, I did something. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. The hallucinations, I don't got those hallucinations. Although, how would I know? Because to me, it's real. I don't know. Is there a pathway to increase ADA staking rewards? Yeah, it's called partner chains. All of the above. There we go. Just buy ADA, bro. Yeah, we can. Well, shit. Let me see what I got in my Lace wallet right now. All right, got it. I have $2,443 worth of assets in the wallet. Holy shit, I got $1,200 worth of Kraju inside that wallet. You guys want to see my little Lace wallet? All right, let me share my screen here. You ready? All right. One is the loneliest number. Let's see if we can open up that. Oh, it doesn't show you, so I have to actually make it a full tab. Yeah, here we go. All right, here's the balance. We got 2,400, and we got about $297 worth of Cardano in there, a little ADA. We got about $1,200 worth of Kraju. We got about $491 worth of USDM, the only values-based coin. Got a little bit of Strike, a little bit of Cornucopias. We got some Ion. I still owe those guys the unboxing. I got the thingy actually over there. We got a Charlie 3 in there. We got some Ion. What else we got? We got some Jed. Got like $10 worth of Jed. And then a whole lot of stuff. Whole lot of stuff. Whole lot of stuff. Oh my God. Charles Chaplin. I don't know any of this stuff. A whole lot of stuff. People just send me shit, man. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. And you just buy some ADA. There you go. Buy ADA, bro. Ah. And let's take a look at our dApp center. All these different dApps. Got Wing Riders and JPEG and Donzo, Fluid Tokens, Liquid Finance, Indigo, Splash, OpenJet. Holy shit. Got Sneck.fun. There's a lot of stuff here you can do on Cardano. Huh. That's pretty cool. You know what we should do is like every week we should just use the DeFi application on Cardano. I don't know. Would that be something you guys want to do next year? I will give you 3,000 ADA, Charles. You're poor. Well, I mean, if you want to, sure. I mean, I'm not going to complain. Here, let me, if you want to send me something, let me just go ahead and post that for you. There you go. Just leave that up there. Anything you want to send. Oh, he's playing the victim again. Just remember, guys, if you don't agree with everything Charles says, you're an idiot. I guess Vitalik is an idiot too. I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Clutch my pearls. I'm the victim. It's a generational thing. You disagree with somebody, you immediately play the victim. You go and shout it out. I'm out. I can't see him into the state any longer. Again, you haven't really answered the whole schizophrenia thing. We're all waiting. There's 12,500 people now. We are waiting. We are waiting, sir. We just really want you to answer the question. You levied the allegation. You couldn't get there. Have you ever visited the Boneyard in Alaska? That sounds familiar. Is that in Anchorage? With bated breath. Exactly. This guy gets it. Bated breath. He's our guy. Show us how to create a Bitcoin wallet on Lace. Yeah, great idea. New DeFi app every week. Yeah, we'll do that for 2026, I think. We're going to do a rejiggering of the whole podcast thing. Do. I'm loving it. Are you going to build a DC office for government affairs with Rare Evo? No. I already have a government affairs office, and we're making great progress. Once we're done with Clarity, we're done. We move on. Pearl clutchers. Do. Oh, it says Boneyard, Alaska is a private mining claim near Fairbanks, Alaska, has yielded a massive concentration of well-preserved ice age fossils. Well, shit. You learn something new every day. I also think there's a restaurant in Alaska called the Boneyard. We will look into that. We will get the best people on that. But now I got to go to the Boneyard. There's probably like mammoth bones and shit there. Charles, why don't you do a hair transplant? Ah. Charles, why don't you call people idiots and liars when you're on NBC in front of Congress and nation state leaders when they ask stupid questions? I have, which is why they don't invite me back to the party. Now you're starting to understand. It's all starting to come together. Oh, Lord. Do you think there's tunnels under the pyramids? There probably are. I currently own 30,000 ADA. I hold only ADA. Good. Get it in DeFi. Put it in Cardano DeFi. Let's get it working. Get it working for you. Let's get you there. Is the Midnight Summit open to everybody? Yes, it is. Please come to the Midnight Summit. Dude, you have so much money to do a hair transplant. You just look like a confused professor. Maybe I just don't care. Maybe my physical appearance or lack thereof is not my problem. Schizophrenia, poor hygiene. Damn. Shit, we are starting to rack up the symptoms, aren't we? Look at that. Where do you get your cat shirts? I saw them online. I'm like, I need to get some cat shirts. Charles, I'm balding. How's the stem cell treatment at your clinic coming along? I tried it for a little while. Didn't grow any hair, unfortunately. So back to the drawing board. Chapter 2. Why does my hair not grow? Seems like Knight is the only privacy token that could pass the market structure bill. This guy gets it. We built it for everybody. Institutions, Fortune 500, and retail. Not just retail, not just institution. The little guy and the big guy alike. For everybody. Layer 2 to everybody. We do not discriminate. What's your position on the Palestine conflict? Never heard you talk about the situation because it's one of those untalkable situations. There is no way to engage in a conversation about that issue that's reasonable. It's not possible. It's just not. Things happen that become wells of controversy and they become so ingrained and opinions get so passionate and they get so just interconnected, you can't discuss it. When a person asks that question, there's not a single person in good faith asking that question. They're on one side or the other side, and they're asking to either embrace or demonize. And the minute you do, you've taken a position, and just everything goes to hell. There's no way to engage with it. It's just not possible. Lex Friedman tried when he brought people together, tried to have a conversation. The realities are so far apart between the two parties. I have personal opinions. I'll never share them because it'll just do harm and damage. And there's not a single live stream I do where I don't get asked about it. Exactly. Midnight is a beast already. You get that, sir. Midnight is a beast. It's growing, it's building. We're very excited about it. You've been very circumspect about Trump. You know, I was eating a meal the other day and I said, this is the first year where I felt like I've done something that really does violate my internal integrity. Because I just always either stay silent or I tell people how it is. And if I see something that I think is wrong, I say it. And I think there's some things that have happened this year that are wrong. And I felt like there's consequences if I say stuff about those things. I don't think it's productive that Trump Coin exists right now. I don't think it's productive that World Liberty Finance exists right now. It's not that they're bad people or they've committed a crime, they've done something wrong. It's created a difficult situation for us as an industry where something that should be neutral, nonpartisan, bipartisan and create a clear set of rules has become political theater. It's the truth. It really is. And there shouldn't be consequences for saying something about that. And it's been difficult for me because I was told by all my advisors, just stay silent, don't do anything, don't rock the boat, don't do these things. And I think that's been the problem this year, that there's a disconnect between how I feel and what I say. And whenever that exists, I can't be real and connect with people, and people can't trust you. You have to just say how it is. There are certain issues where they've been going on for a really long time, and there's no sense to even talk about them. Abortion, the Israel-Palestine conflict, these types of things. You can't have a meaningful dialogue about these types of things because the sides are so dug in and they're so certain with their opinion, and there's really no way to move them one inch. But there's other things that are situational that have just come up that are conduct oriented. I'm a big fan of leadership, especially presidential leadership, and learning about it and saying, did they make good decisions or bad decisions? And as a leader myself, small or large, I have to make decisions. And I have to think, am I doing the right job or not doing the right job? We don't have clarity as a nation right now. What the hell does it mean to make America great again? What does that mean? It's like Obama with his vacuous hope and change. Hope and change. It's unaccountable gobbledygook Amero speech. You know what I care about? Healthcare, education, your ability to pay your bills. Go down the list, one after another. Let's look at the world and rank every country. Who's number one in each category according to some objective set of metrics? Where is America versus the rest of the world, each category? Some were number one, some were number 50. It's not about politics. It's an objective reality. Let's measure it. Once we measure it, wherever that report card comes out, we sit down and say, what is our national strategy to make those numbers better? If we're number 27 in healthcare, what is our national strategy to be number one? And how do we measure it? How often do we measure it? And what do we need to do to make that happen? That's what leaders do. They tell you where you're at, where you're strong, where you're weak, and they tell you how we're going to make it better and partner with people. Change the system. Instead, it's this person's evil, this person's wrong, this person's this person's this. It's just vacuous noise language. There's no specificity, there's no objectivity, there's no depth. It's bereft of meaning. And it makes me sad. It really does, because we could be so great. We have all these brilliant people. We have all these brilliant capabilities. Why do brilliant people stay out of politics? Because the minute they enter in, it's not about what they do, it's about what they represent. And the minute that they come in, they're destroyed. Their character is dissected, their businesses are attacked, they're criminalized if they can get away with it, and half of America just ends up hating them. We got this guy. He's a ketamine addict. He has got like 12 kids. You may have heard of him. His name is Elon Musk. I just mentioned the name. If you're on the left, you just hate it. Right? Just instantly. Just got the heebie-jeebies. What part of Elon Musk's existence makes your life bad? Is it the rockets he builds? Yeah, but the Starship blew up. He makes a rocket every 2 fucking days. Like 95% of all cargo carried into space is from his fucking company. And the Starship is following the same design pattern the Saturn V rocket is following to take us to the moon. Are you really an expert on our rockets? Do you really know how rockets are built? No, you don't. No, you don't. You're just not. There's a dude right now, before Elon Musk, is quadriplegic, just sitting in a chair, waiting to die. No hope, no nothing. Now, he's getting a degree in cognitive neuroscience. He's writing a book. He's a motivational speaker. He plays video games. Moves robotic hands because of the Neuralink implant in his head. And in 5 years' time, it'll be 10 times greater. He has hope for the first time ever. You talk about global warming. You say it's an existential threat. You have Greta Thunberg come and say, how dare you? You're taking my future away. So you tell us we have to get off fossil fuels. So you have a large solar company, a large battery power car company, and found a path to actually bring battery power cars to everybody. And then you don't invite them to the White House. That's why brilliant people don't enter politics. Brilliant people aren't perfect people. Brilliant people don't always have the right answers, but brilliant people are the people who figure out how to reuse a rocket, how to scale a company from nothing to trillions of dollars, how to make millions of humanoid robots walk around, how to have cars drive themselves, how to give people telepathy and speech to text and all kinds of amazing things. That's what brilliant people do. Do you want those people to be part of government and helping government make us number one in every category? If you do, why in God's name do you tear these people down and burn these people to the ground? Why? Isn't it a national asset regardless of the administration they work for? But you've made it a crime for a person to work for Trump. That's what you've done. It's a crime. Do they work for Trump or the United States of America? And you wonder why everything's so bad. You wonder why the leadership is the way it is. Again, when I was talking about Cardano, it's the same with the United States of America. It's about the culture. You can't use vacuous terms. Make Cardano great again. Make America great again. It's vacuous. Hope and change. Hope and change. It's vacuous. It means nothing. You have to start with what is number one and why is it number one? How do we want to live? Should things be more or less affordable in the future? Should you have more opportunity or less opportunity in the future? And you know what? We're Americans. We'll sacrifice for it. Don't fucking tell me the American people on Veterans Day are fat slob losers and they're not willing to fight for things. There is more valor in this country and more sacrifice in this country than the totality of all human history, which is why we're so goddamn powerful. And it's why we have the best entrepreneurs. We can do anything. That's not vacuous. That's a fact. And we proved it time and again in all the wars we've won, standing on the surface of the moon, building the internet, building the modern IT world. All these things, we did it. As a country of immigrants welcoming people from more than 100 countries in, didn't matter the language, didn't matter the culture. We mixed it all up in one big pot. We got to work and we got it done. So the sacrifice is there. We're willing to make the sacrifice, but we have to know the why to endure the how. No one will make a blind sacrifice if they're not inspired and there's not good leadership and they don't believe in the mission. But if they do believe in the mission, they do believe in the leader, they do believe in the path, they will walk through broken glass every day for years on end to make it happen. No one in America is willing to sacrifice because our government is not worth sacrificing for. It's just that simple. And if Trump was a good leader, he would make us willing to sacrifice for that government. I'm sorry. You just can't lie every day. You can't say you're going to release the Epstein files and then not release them. And then say, why is everybody talking about it? You can't. And then you can't punish people who hold you accountable for that, like Thomas Massey or others. You can't. I don't give a shit if it's the third rail or not. I have to be me, and I have to give you the honest truth. I am neither a Republican nor a Democrat. I'm politically libertarian. I've always been, and I've always believed in freedom, and I've always believed that human beings are deeply flawed, and they need to have constraints. They need to have processes and procedures and technological structures and faith-based structures, whatever they are, to create some guardrails to constrain us as people. Because we can do great things, we can do horrible things. The delta between the two is not big. And the whole point of governments is to put some constraints and guardrails in so we as a society can function. And we debate on how many, and we debate when we take them and when we put them in, but we can't debate that they're not necessary. We have to have them. And blockchain is a better set of guardrails and constraints for economic, political, and social systems. And what's happening right now is there's an unraveling of all the social restraints. And it's allowing every year for things to get worse and worse. And we're just told to pick a team, shut the fuck up, and support the team no matter what they do and what they say, which is absurd. That's not who we are. That's not how greatness is achieved. That's not how you build things, inspire people, and construct trust. There's no psychological safety in the Trump administration if a tweet can undo you. There's no psychological safety in the woke movement if you say one wrong thing that violates the orthodoxy of their cult, that you can be deplatformed and made problematic and disappeared. Leadership creates psychological safety for people. And it creates unity because we all agree on the goal and we all want it to achieve, and we self-select. If we don't think we can contribute to it, we actually leave of our own accord because we want somebody better and more qualified to be in the room to make that happen. And it's not about our own power and ego for these things. But that's just one man's opinion. Real shit, Charles. Yeah, keeping it real. Then start your own country. No, I'm an American. This is my country, and I have every right as an American to tell you how I think America should be, just like you do. And you may disagree with me, but you can never get rid of me. My bones are going to be buried here. So stopping 8 world wars in 10 months is not noteworthy. It's not. This is your propaganda. He just says it. Is there really peace in the Middle East? Do you feel it? Is it really a great thing when an Al-Qaeda leader that killed American troops and is now a CIA puppet goes to Syria, overthrows Assad, now is standing in the White House after everything that he did? The Rwanda-Congo thing, he stopped that? Oh, please. And how come Ukraine is still going on? I thought that was going to be buttoned up in 24 hours. He's on his soapbox. No, I just want my country to be great. Really great. Exactly. That is American greatness. Sacrifice, strength, and commitment. There's not a damn thing the American people can't do when we're unified. Great leaders, they find a way to unify people. They don't burn people to the ground. They find a way to unify people. It's just that simple. I know this is great. People complaining about you being on a soapbox while watching your personal live stream is pretty crazy. Yeah, it's pretty erotic, isn't it? Why are you here? You're here to listen to me. It's my AMA. Oh, Lord. Yeah, but you see, guys, the Democrats are too, and that's the problem. It's like the left is like Trump, orange man bad, and they get this derangement syndrome, and then somehow it excuses all their sins. We got here because they created an opening for them. Guys, a dementia-ridden cancer puppet was the president of the United States for 4 years. They knew he had dementia. They knew he had cancer before he became president. And unelected staffers ran the White House. And when they could no longer ride his corpse to victory, they, without any democratic processes, put a puppet in, Harris, to try to replace him with 107 days. No debate, no oversight, no democratic processes. They just installed that person in and said, Orange Man's so bad, you have to accept this state of affairs. They're not any better. They're just autocrats of a different nature. And they hate democracy just as much as you think Trump does. And they divide me because I'm told that immutable characteristics about me are fundamentally sinful. My whiteness and maleness, which I can't change, is systemically racist. That's what I'm told. They write books like White Fragility. The woke cult worships this whole concept. Apparently, I'm oppressing everybody around me because I'm a white male. They say these things and they enact policies to inflict these things and put me at a disadvantage because historically I've been at an advantage. And they say that's an okay thing. They deny science about biological differences in the sexes. There's nothing good about where that philosophy is, and they also have no respect for property rights. Zero, zilch, none. You have these democratic socialists elected. They come in, they say, we need to seize the means of production because they're unfair. No, what's unfair is the Republicans and Democrats didn't want to raise taxes to pay for their excess and their corruption and their graft, so they destroyed the money. And the poor people had to pay. And now the poor people are rising up and they want to take the means of production because their money is worthless. But the problem is when you do that, you destroy your entire economy. You have to have a return to sound money. That's the solution, as painful as that return is. Mamdani is just a symptom. You get Mamdani when people feel the social contract is broken and he says the right things to make people think that he's got all the answers and all the solutions. You know what Mamdani's going to do? He's going to be the best real estate agent in the world for Florida. All the rich people are going to leave because they just don't want their means of production to be seized because they can vote with their feet. And if those people leave and commercial real estate falls through, in New York, they'll have mega deficits, and the whole country, the whole state city will turn into a welfare state. They absolutely did Bernie Durney. Dude, you have 500 in here. I have 13,558 people when I factor in X and YouTube. Go to X. Take a look at it. 1 million followers there. Charles is best friends with a Chinese billionaire acting like a regular guy. I grew up with CZ. He was poor. We were both poor. We weren't rich before this thing. Yeah, we were all the same, man. Binance was one of the first exchanges to list ADA along with Bittrex, and it was the smaller of the two back in 2017. That's how long it's been. So yeah, I have a soft spot. I know him very well. He's a good man, and he's got a lot of ups and downs. He's a vicious businessman, and he makes decisions to increase the value of his company and his holdings. You would expect him to act any different in this type of environment and culture. The man sits on an empire with 400 million users, and he did that from nothing, and he came from nothing. That's a really impressive thing. So yeah, I do look up to him. I'm not talking about CZ, and you know what? That's the only Chinese billionaire I know. Which other one you got for me? Give me a name. The businessman you introduced to Vitalik, well, there was Li Shailao and there was Bo Shen. And Li knew Bo, and Bo and Li were part of BitShares after I left. And Bo built a partnership with Vitalik called Fenbushi, but Bo never gave me any money. They never invested in Cardano. They actually sat out because they took the investment in Ethereum. So I know Bo. He got new teeth. And I know Li. Like Li, he gave me the first $250,000 for establishing Invictus Innovations. Li was also the other guy that pushed for me to get bought out from Invictus Innovations. It was Li as the middleman and Dan and his family and me. I didn't want to do an ICO, and Li wanted to do an ICO. He wanted to do angel shares. And the problem was that I thought it was an unregistered securities offering. So I took a buyout, went and did Ethereum. And of course, I still had the relationship, so I went and introduced Vitalik to him. He learned Chinese, moved to China, and actually became their best friend. I stayed in Wyoming. That's a different Lee. Why'd you leave Ethereum? You don't know? Depends on who you ask. I was pushed out. Contract existed. Well, then publish it. Oh, you're one of the XRP Ethgate guys. Okay, all right. Now I know where you're coming from. Yeah, you're one of those guys. Sorry, you're going to have to bark up the wrong tree. No. It wasn't a few weeks late. Scala 3 was several years late, like 5 years late on the schedule. They're slower than we are. And likely what would have happened is we would have built the account side before the UTXO side. It would have been scaled down a little bit because there would have been a different engineering team. And the functional first guys were very UTXO friendly. I saw it from both directions, UTXO and account based. And it was really a question of the right account based system and could we do the right gas model. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with Scala that was really sensible. But, we would have always had some UTXO system, but the question was the level of expressiveness and interoperability between the UTXO system and the account-based system. Even today in Cardano, there is an account-based system. It's very subtle, but if you look into the ledger design, it's part of the reward. So when you withdraw your staking rewards, it's an account system. So there's more nuance to all of this stuff. A little bit more nuance. Do you have a good relationship with Gavin Wood? I don't not have a good relationship. I mean, I like Gavin. He's a smart guy. We're very much in like in that we have very strong opinions about things. So there we go. Turkish oil of wrestling. That's how we're going to sort out Polkadot versus Cardano. It's about the only way. Are Nightstream, Starstream quantum resistant? Yes. That's one of their defining characteristics, and it's an asset, not a liability. All right. Well, let's see if we can get one more good one. One more good one. Love this AMA. Well, I love you too. Trump's literally you people, you XRP guys with the ETH gate. He built on Ethereum. His kids are saying buy Ether, and it's going up. He's digging up the skeletons of Ethgate and the corruption of Ethereum, but he's building on Ethereum and buying and holding Ether. Save me, Happapus. Save me, Happapus. Here we go. There's Happapus. He's saving me. He's right here. He's floating around. He's Happapus. He's Happapus. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh God! The internet made him Sadipus. No, Sadipus. He's going away. He's going away, and now he doesn't have the light of God. Oh, now he's coming back. He's coming back as Angripus. He's very angry. Look how pissed off he is. Oh God, no, Angripus. Why? Let's not go there. Let's go to the Happapus land. Happapus. That's what we have to do. All right, kids. It's been 3 hours long. Happy Veterans Day. Been a lot of fun. Let's return to the center. Midnight is going to be a Leviathan next year, and Cardano, by extension, will enjoy the benefits. And as we look to the future, we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. It'll be a little painful. There's always ups and downs. But you know what? When you widen the aperture, all in all, we did all right. Cheers.